additions or corrections to the agenda?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Agenda's approved. Move into the consent items. Any board members have any questions or comments on any of those?
So those Cooney, that was all for the hearings that we were supposed to have.
Yeah.
Those bills,
Mhm.
plus the announcements in the newspaper. There were some bills for that. That was for that also.
Yeah, the instructional support levy and the instructional support levy.
Yeah, that was, and then the Allers and Cooney was the,
All of it was
Right.
Ivers and Cooney,
Yeah.
so it was the hearing and the instructional support levy. We have to put public notices.
Right, but I meant that weren't we supposed to have for the hearings also? Did we have to put that as a notice or no?
No.
Publicly? Okay.
No, that's just their legal work for it.
So basically, about $3,500 we paid, right?
I think maybe last month there may have been, one of those bills may have been for the hearing as well. I can't remember for sure, but it may have like hit at the cutoff or something. I can go back and double check that for you.
And then that ingenuity for the 5, is that like 5? What, is that 5
that's what,
people or?
yeah, we have 5 seats. And so, we use that for credit recovery. That's what we just always have that. So
Oh,
that's just a normal bill that we always have every year. And then we'll have a different set of bills for our online,
okay,
like our curriculum.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's in this month's bills or it'll probably be in next month's bills.
and then that Max Pro, that's for all this COVID, all the supplies, that Max Pro.
I
It
don't
was
know.
Max Pro, it was
Not me.
$4,000. I had a different, page 3.
On the prepaid or the bills?
It's on the bill. Because I'm assuming the Martin Brothers are the normal, those are just normal supplies.
And.
Oh, yeah, 500 spray bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Spray bottles and then 250 refills.
So Deb did that. I
That's,
didn't
yeah,
know
that's
where they came
the, they're, each kid's gonna get their own little, it's like a little handheld sanitizer. And it's, just like in a little pump, like a non-aerosol pump spray. And then they have big jugs that they can refill them. And so every kid will have one of those at their desk.
And I
So.
assume we probably don't know how long that'll last, like the supplies
Yeah.
that we bought until.
Yeah.
from. Well, we got a lot of them. I mean,
Right.
there's little bags that you can refill that just go right in there, and I don't know the name of it, but I
Yeah.
know she's got them. What we're doing is trying to put all the PPE stuff in that brick room with the confidence
Right,
space. So we're just.
It's right across
go
from
across the hall
Sarah's
and fill up the
office.
sprayer and try to keep them all in one general area so we know our inventory, and I'll take all the stuff she got today in there too, so. If we ever know, instead of having it all over the building, it's in one spot.
And the expectation is that kids keep them at their desk or whatever.
Yeah,
in
and
their
there's also,
classrooms.
then each classroom has it and they have them at doors. I mean, we have sanitizer all over it, but we also have, each child has their own individual container of sanitizer. So,
And the UMB bank, what was that? Was that for bonds or was that an agent fee, $300?
Yep,
Is that
that's,
for the bond?
yep. So, every time we have a payment, we have an agent fee. $300. So, but, we, have all of that interest that we've accrued, over the years, even in debt service before I was even here. So, in going through all of this, we have a little bit of a balance in our debt service, so we didn't tax for those fees so that we could use up some of that. Yeah, so, but we've accounted for it, so we knew that we would have those, every time we have a payment, we have 4 payments a year. So 2 on each one, 2 on the go and then 2 on the save. And so every time that we have a payment, there's a there's an agent fee of $300.
So there's some furniture in the, just the, regular bills, is that?
That's the building project, yeah, and that was workspace.
I just, well, it wasn't in the construction project part.
It, was it like 5,000 or
Yeah,
4,000?
yeah.
That's special ed. So
Oh,
we used
yeah.
special ed funding, for that, so that we didn't have to use up our construction.
We had them separated out. We did like, there was some extra. So we bought some furniture for the middle school and we also bought some special for special ed.
We just have to be sure now, because we paid for that with special ed, that it stays special ed, it can't move around then to others.
It's in the special ed runs in.
Yeah, like if you see this, the old ice hand room, Mr. Wilson has a couple pieces in his new room and Mrs. Ford has some and Mrs. Ean has some, and some really, really nice, a little different than what we put in the other classrooms, but really nice stuff.
Is the storage on, the prepaids, the storage, maybe it says our mini storage, is that
Yep.
for the product?
Yep, for the project, and so, we actually have gotten rid of one of the, units, thank you, Pam. And, we've kept the other, but we'll just kind of see how long we keep
There
that.
was
We
so
do have
much
some-
furniture
yeah.
left from what we saved.
Yeah.
And we did the garage sale and we did really well on that, but there's still marker boards. And then we have, Eric Harder gave us some marker boards, which we haven't even got out of his basements because he's in no hurry, but we don't have anywhere to store them here. So there's just random things up there that when we get time, we'll go through it and take away that
So
cost.
that will go
because,
away, yep. that
You
will
know, it might, we couldn't have put it at the bus garage then, but we might be able to now
Yeah.
because it'll be a smaller amount. It was pretty overwhelming with two full.
What are you doing for storage for all the mess up out of the complex?
It's going underneath the complex right now, and we just put it in one shower room, so we have the storm shelter, and then we have the other shower room, we just organized it and put it on trailers and trucked it in underneath.
Is the storm shelter site open?
Yeah.
Is there anything in it at
I
all?
don't think so.
One of the options we're really struggling with junior high football without the locker rooms. So one of our high school guys can kind of take care of themselves through cars and friends, but junior high won't have that, and I do not
That
want
could
them
be their
dragging
room.
their helmets and shoulders in
That
this
could be
building.
your halftime.
Well, I think we have that figured out. But the
Okay.
junior high pads, I think we may use that, so if anybody needs that, let me know
That might
first.
work,
Okay,
yeah,
great, thanks.
because I think that they're gonna talk about putting a store in here in Travis's old office, and she said they probably won't sell at football games.
I don't think,
Tracy said today.
I think they're not selling football games, and I think
So
they're not
this
even
would be
buying
open
new
on
stuff for a while.
Fridays, and yeah, I kind of took all the Travis's desk and furniture out. I kind of set it up as just an extra space. And then I talked to Tracy today and I just put some shelving in there and a small table for them to check out, and they can hang some of the goods in the window, and so.
It's a good spot, really.
Kind of
Yeah.
cleaned out the
Well,
back.
kind of between the
Travis hasn't
two
got
gyms
stuff
and-
back there yet,
yeah.
but, you know, they can put their totes back there and display.
I wish they'd have it open during the school day, because we get a lot of calls.
Well,
during
I
the school
wonder
day.
if, that's what I said to Tracy today.
I mean, even if
there's
it was just like an hour before school
somebody
was
that
out or
knows the
something.
pricing or has the pricing
That's the
list,
thing, whether
that
Angie or Deb or somebody may, or Zach or I be able to
somebody
do that.
just
for
be able
them.
to do that, because.
Yeah, we
I
can
think
Yeah,
probably
we just
that's-
have no costs and all
Yeah,
that
no,
stuff.
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
you
You
can
can
have,
also-
And they use that iPad to do it, so
so maybe you can just
we
be
could
on
put,
a.
yeah, we could, I'm
talk
sure we could
to
talk
everybody
with,
or whatever.
yeah, Tracy.
But I
get that
think that
figured
would be
out.
nice for them, and we kind of got that set up for them today, so when
Yeah.
she comes in, she'll be able to display.
Yeah.
So the storm shelter should be open.
Any other questions or comments on the consent items?
All that 25 AP exams, there's 25.
Remember,
That's where the
I read
junior-
that,
Juniors and seniors taking junior AP and senior AP.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had some good scores on that actually with May being out. Those AP kids worked all the way through, so they got
Right.
one mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the list, I can't obviously share it, that we were, some kids that I wouldn't have thought got a really good number, so.
well, good.
And they paid for it. You just don't see that side of it.
I was just surprised by the number.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the consent items? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent items? I have a second? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent items are approved. Doesn't look like we have any correspondence this evening. We'll move into the Baxter Early Learning Center report. Looks like we have their July meeting minutes.
So I emailed Haley and told her that I hadn't gotten, board minutes since, I think it was March was the last time I had them, and this was all that she had sent me, so maybe they didn't have meetings in April or May or June. That's all she gave me.
How long did it close? Is it a month or 2 months?
So maybe they didn't have meetings.
I think they had meetings though, because they were sending surveys out to parents, but it might have been just specifically on COVID.
Anybody know how many children they have now compared to when they say in
No,
March?
they're
or-
down, but I don't know, just by reading in there here, and I think just by hearing from them that they have a ton of babies though.
Maybe go to Baxter.
Yeah.
Just
So
wait.
they actually hired another person just
5
for
more years,
babies.
we'll get them.
Yeah,
I wondered about the staff being laid off at them, if they were down with numbers or something, when I was reading that.
Any other comments on the Early Learning Center? Okay, we'll move on to public forum. Is there anybody on Zoom for public forum?
Anyone on Zoom have anything to say? Well, I don't see anybody.
Okay. Move on past public forum into the business items. First item is the new school start date, which we just had the public hearing about. So we just looking at changing it to August 31st, 1 week later than what we'd originally planned.
We do probably just need to discuss if you want, I know we have the time built in so that we wouldn't have to make up those days, but that's up to you guys if you want those made up. And then also like with the staff, because the staff will have to make those up. So now they'll have like 7 days. I think, Rob, Jason, do you remember, do we have 2 days at the end of the year? So we'll have, we'll have 7-ish days at the end of the year to make up for the staff, which is a lot of days, but I don't know if there's things that we could spread them out. I mean, they were really gracious with us this year, the way we were flexible with those. I don't know if that's something we could talk about with them, and if there's training or something that we'd need to do over next summer. But that's just something to think about. 7 days is a long time to just wrap up a school year.
Anybody have any thoughts on that?
what do you guys think?
Students
I don't-
making up that time.
I just think it's something that I probably would discuss later. I mean, we have no
We have
idea
no
how the
idea
year's
what's
gonna go,
gonna
right?
Right.
We don't know what the future holds for us, so obviously we're starting off 5 days behind now, but I just don't know. I mean, I'd like us to get going and then make sure that we can keep kids in the building and keep doing what we're doing before we start talking about adding days at the end of the year. I mean, who knows what's gonna happen in February, you know? Do you agree, Rob? I'm not trying to speak for both.
So we'll keep that option open.
Why, help me understand, the teachers would have to make it up because of the contract?
Well, they have a contract, because their contract is for 189 days. And so we go roughly 180 days. And so we have a few of them that we use before school. And so then typically we would have used 5 of them for this coming week. And then 5 of the 189 would have been spent teaching kids, but we're just cutting those off. If we cut them off at the back end, like the 24th through the, whatever that first week, August 24th through the 30th or whatever, 31st, whatever. Those days they normally would be teaching kids, but now they're gonna be using those as PD, whereas this week they normally would have been working on PD and they're not here. And it's not by any fault of theirs, it's because we didn't have power.
Just pushed everything back.
We just
a
pushed
week.
everything back. So instead, we didn't cut their contract from 189 to 184. So they,
Can we do that?
I mean,
Do
we
have another
could.
contract? No. Okay. Okay.
No, but we probably need to look up board policy, because board policy says that the students will go to school 180 days.
So we should probably make sure that we amend that anyway, because we've been going with minutes.
It's been amended
Oh,
to include minutes for, it includes both minutes and days. And so, but it does say 180 days.
so maybe we should have it say and or.
I would,
You just need to look at it.
I wouldn't admit the teacher contract off 189.
Yeah.
If we don't make the kids make up those 5 days, that means the year went awesome.
Mhm.
That means we're in great shape, and I would say we could absolutely find some PD, hit the end of the year to catch back up, because we're gonna be
Mhm.
we're so far behind where we thought everybody is.
Right,
But I'm
right.
just saying, back to anything else we were talking, right now, we're trying to survive. And
Mhm.
all those initiatives have been on hold for a long time, so. no-
And they have extra because they were shortened last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's on the,
Mhm.
in essence, they're making that up next week, because it was gonna be a 2-day.
Yeah, so we added
We
those
had
in.
3-day and we added to a 5-day, so they're getting 2 of those on the backside. But I would keep it 189.
Yeah,
If we extend the kids' days,
Then
then
they're
they're
gonna
gonna
use
be
them.
fine anyway, so I mean, it's gonna be 189, so I wouldn't touch it and say we're 189.
yeah.
That's
If you amended it for this year, then you'd have to read it. Then it's gonna. be
Kids, I
the
would leave
whole
open, the
thing. Yeah,
teachers are working 180, that's my opinion.
yeah.
Jason, can jump in?
Agreed.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the starting date of school as August 31st? Second, all in favor, aye.
Okay, who did what?
Opposed,
There's
same
something
sign.
here to say.
Okay.
Okay, motion's approved to begin the start of school August 31st this year. Moving it back 1 week from original. Next business item is the building project update.
Yeah, and you can look at the budget summary, but I'd ask Pam to come also just to visit about, just kind of where we're at with things. And then I don't know if this is where we talk about the damage, or yeah, I guess we put it in there. You know, as far as the building itself, it's wrapping up. We have a few things, just last minute things that are just headaches. Like we're trying to get phones figured out, and we're trying to get last minute the door buzzer, and just all this little stuff. So like the majority of stuff, like the furniture's here. Like if we had to open the doors tomorrow and teach school, we could. But it's just those little things that need to get addressed. So we're working on that. It was great. We had Connor back today, and he was helping work through some things. Pam, is there stuff I'm
I
forgetting?
think that the new school looks good. I mean, we're gonna have to go through and just go through everything, do some floor scrubbing. We got behind here with Van Monen. He texted me tonight and said that they're out of the building for a couple of days because they're just waiting for devices, but he hauled out a lot today so we can get to our hallways. It's not gonna be shiny this year. We haven't been able to. I mean, we did every single classroom,
But it's.
you know, and waxed
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, the
and
new
they-
stuff looks
And
great.
then they came back in, and then we had heating and cooling people back in, so we're gonna go through every room, we're gonna sanitize again, we're gonna be ready for 31st. Even if we, you know, we'll catch up.
So and there's little things like the colored lights and the lightning bolt. That's not here yet because there's
Yeah, that's-
pieces that are missing. So just
There's gonna be
frustrating
some
things.
lights out, and there's some ceiling tile that they put back up, because we chose to keep the ceiling tile. They took them out and then put them back in, and their hands were dirty, and they just, don't look up and don't look down, just look straight ahead to start. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's gonna be clean and we're gonna know it's safe, but they've been kind of a challenge. We hope they'd be done in June, and or even before, the 1st of June would have been great.
Mhm.
We might have been able to get more to hallways and stuff, but then the power outage, we were wearing headlamps. You can't work with a headlamp.
When did
It's
the power come
dark
back
in
on?
here.
We temporarily got power, was it Tuesday, Monday?
Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon, yeah, because
Oh, yeah. Monday
originally they
afternoon.
had told us we couldn't use the power because if the school's big enough that if we turned our power on, it would shut down the city. So we're like, well, obviously we need the city, the houses, the community needs to have power more than we do. So then they said that we could, but we couldn't run our AC. So that was fine. So we just tried to
We
be real
did
minimal, just
limited
really
amounts, went
limited.
through and shut all pumps and
Yeah.
all that stuff off so that we didn't get a big blow.
Right, and then yesterday we just were like, again, limited, and then we got the call last night that it was gonna get full
Everything was
on.
good.
So then today when we came, it was,
And everything
normal.
seems to be working. I mean, I didn't know about that unit after it got knocked off its pad, and
do you wanna talk about that? Cause we could just roll right into the storm
that'd be great,
damage.
then I can go.
Yeah, do you wanna talk through just a little bit of the damage that we've sustained with the
Okay.
storm?
So the
Just so everyone
rooftop
knows.
unit was just, it got knocked off about 3 feet, and it was kind of hanging, and didn't fall all the way off. They assured me that it didn't rip out any lines or any conduit or anything like that. They put it back on, and it's clearly running. I'll just go through the storm was on the 10th. We started cleaning up on the 12th, because we needed the day to regroup and just let it all sink in. So we had, I'll just name them, I'll just do them. Couple of flags, of course, flag poles, or what the big one at the complex is sideways a little bit, and then out here, we'll have, this is all insurance claim stuff, the generator and the fuel and the rent for that, which was great. They had on and said they had one at their shop, and I called over to Maxwell and asked them, and we got Collins and Maxwell set up with a generator for their freezers as well.
So that helped so that our food didn't get spoiled.
So
So
that's
we
the only
could-
thing we hooked up to, and then he
Sure.
the electrician kind of worked off of it to keep working on the fire panel and a few things, but, that we put it into the insurance claim and then the FS came great and just kept it filled up. So that saved all of our freezer stuff. We were 3 days without, the temperature was still good, but we needed to do something quick. So they pulled through what works for us on that, and then also to Collins and Maxwell, so that was, they got power before us, so then they went and got those, and we just went up this morning. So our temperatures were up in our freezer, we didn't lose any food. They were completely stocked over there, and I haven't been over there, and I feel bad about it, because we've talked a few times, but as my new position is, I should be over there as well, but I don't know how I can be there when I was doing what I was doing here. So I'm gonna need to call Dr. Lund and just say, hey, when school starts, I'm there 1 day a week, but for now. And I've talked to their custodian a couple times, and they understand, but, I didn't know, can I go fix their disaster? Can I go, I can't do all three, at this given time. And I probably would have been over there, if this wouldn't happen, but. So the generator, the wire that goes from the roof over to the ag building, there's 2 wires, one's a spare, one's the power to the clocks and the intercom, it got broke, and that's our wire, so we put on the claim. The gym floor, we have it tented right now. It tested wet for where the roof peeled back. It was testing 150 over in the corner on the north side of the gym. The rest of the gym tested out 80, so an RJ Roth company came and built 2x4s, has them up off the ground, plastic over that. These mats that put air down and then suck air out. So we've just done that corner of the gym on an insurance claim. They saw a little bit of cupping, not like we've had in the past, but a little bit of cupping, and this ensures that it'll lay back down and there's no water. So that's on until the end of the week for sure. We're still able to practice volleyball on 1 court.
Was it from the roof thing or it's like blowing in from that west?
From the roof, because I've never had water come down the wall before. Maybe because of the high winds under the door as well.
Yeah.
I was trying to, with my cell phone, with my auto scrubber, suck it up, and I couldn't really tell it was black in there. So, but I knew I went to it just as soon as we saw it, so it didn't like soak in and wait a couple days, so you knew that it was wet. actually, when I went and took the trim off, I couldn't even feel it wet. But then they bring a meter and set it on the floor and it tested wet. So we thought, you know, with the insurance claim and the way that it was, I've got my roof quote already for redoing that gym roof. I think we're lucky that we didn't quit when it did, because I think it would have peeled it off. It's $5,905, and that'll go on an insurance claim. But we're gonna redo two sides, the north side and whatever way that is.
Is it kind of
South and west.
Is it
South
weather
and
tight
west.
now, or is it if we get another rain now?
We put the cap back over, they're bending steel to do it. There were several places up there, and they have all kinds of pictures, but where evidently the wind just whoops down and moves all the rocks and just rips places. So the piece that flew off is about 20 feet long, and it flew over into the membrane of another spot and made a slit there. And then 3 or 4 places where it just, that one piece is laid on the bus drive and it made a little bit of damage. So we're aware of all of that. We didn't have any other ones, which we were lucky on. So that's what made the gym floor wet. So that was West Gym Roof. Football and softball lights, I have ardent lighting coming. I did turn on the football lights this morning, and there's like 3 bulbs out here, 4 bulbs out here. A lot of that is probably just from a fuse, but I just want to be sure that they're all pointed correctly. When I called them, they said, are they even standing up? And yes, they are. You're lucky, they said, you're lucky. So he's coming Friday. Bleachers in the grandstands, we had one set of bleachers go over the fence, and we've moved those now because they're not safe to use. We put them over into our damaged area and checked the grandstands today with an engineer, and he deemed it to be safe. And we wanted to be sure that nothing shifted. I was concerned because one of the doors that goes underneath to the restrooms, I physically can't shut it. It moved enough that I couldn't shut it. So I was concerned that maybe everything twisted and that we'd get 300 people on there, we'd have an issue. He thinks that the way that the wind came, that it blew out the garage door, the window, and the other door, that it just pushed it right there. And it's separated from the main building. It's concrete here and then the grandstands. So that gap probably saved us from losing, because they're able to go through there. But he was a very nice guy, didn't
Super
charge
nice
us
guy.
anything. I mean, I'd called the insurance company and asked them, if we get a structural engineer, do you pay for that? And they said that they would just give us $500 somewhere else to pay the guy, but he wouldn't take any money. He said, give it to the kids. Today, he did. He said, just spend it on the kids. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought. Football, softball lights, bleachers, grandstand, complex twisted, no. Fence is huge. There's a lot of places that maybe we could go take some ties and put them back up, but I had American Fence Cam, he came the next day. It's not always what you know, it's who you know. I have in my phone, Jeff Fence. I just have to remember what's that guy's name. Jeff Fence. It's quite substantial, but it's also insurance. It's $47,000 for the backstop where the trees had went down. They can't just do an area, you stretch it so it's tight. It's a whopper out there, and you know, I know a couple people have asked if we could, the backstop could have more of a slope to it, and I can visit with them, but they're gonna start next week. So they said they'd work on the football field first, so we know that it's safe. Kind of where the bolt stay is, if you've seen that laying down. Ed and Don Aikens kind of pushed it back up, but it's gonna be safe. The track crack, we got nothing out of the track crack.
We
The crack
tried.
in the track, but we didn't get nothing.
It was there. We
I was
tried.
Yeah, I
Oh
was
my-
gonna say, gosh,
It
We
was already
really
there.
tried.
It's just it's just
he was
an
pretty savvy
expansion
about it.
crack. But I crawled on my hands and knees where those bleachers came over looking for a divot. I thought those bleachers came over there on the track, there's gonna be something, but couldn't find anything. Okay, of course, football shed, electrical shed, baseball press box, softball press box, all gone. The gator has a crack because it was in the building. One dugout for baseball is gone, and we found that the other one is twisted bad. So he said buy 2 new ones. That's how he says it, buy 2 new ones. So we'll get 2 at the baseball field for sure. I kind of threw in the ticket booth. And he said buy a new one.
Nice, we got a new ticket booth?
Yeah, I told him it fell over and we'd already picked it up.
And what's the, like, I mean.
It just has fallen over.
So we get
several
a new one,
times
can we
before.
make one of wood, I mean,
Something. gives us something to work with. I don't know until it comes. We just drag that sucker all over the place, and it's been the softball and it's fallen over, it's been the baseball and it's fallen over, and yeah, he said buy a new one.
Just saying. This is all
Anyway,
being
and the ticket booth, the Gaga pit moved over on the playground, it came off its pad and moved over.
recorded.
Gaga pit on the playground,
It's like
so
the
the
most popular
tiles,
thing on the elementary playground.
yeah, the Gaga pit, so he took a picture of that. The garage doors I already have, Dustin Huffaker to do 2 garage doors at the complex. And the sound system, I think, is okay. Scoreboard I turned on tonight and it came on, but I didn't get the controls out, so it has power, went through its diagnostic. Several things that the coaches are saying, some baseballs, yells, green. There's a high jump mat that was in the building that was damaged. Some football equipment, I think Brett Slight said that the pitching machine was bad. The gym, whatever that, or the football trampoline, I call it, I don't know what it's called. Shoot, the
You and
shoot.
the elementary kids think it's a trampoline.
It went
That's why
bad.
it wasn't very good.
I think he was gonna give us, 25 trees, he said 25 cover it. And we cut and cut and cut, and they had a group over here, the playground was more, really, quite a few over there, and then there's still
Yeah,
some
we-
down on the
We've
We
fence
had
said about
line.
10 trees over here.
And
he
we should
said if I
have,
give
in the
you-
correspondence, actually, we should have said a big thank you to all the people,
Mm.
the
Oh, yeah,
community,
those
I
kids
mean, all
back
the
there.
kids, the community.
We just-
Was a rock star.
There were
really,
so
those
many.
kids were
Oh, wow.
amazing, what next, what next, what next?
Yeah.
Admired.
The
Yeah.
boosters pulled together, Tracy Shepley went and got a pizza, so we stayed
Just
at the
one?
complex and had pizza, and,
One pizza.
well, no, she got several.
Oh,
pizzas.
yeah.
She
So
went
we
and got a
should
bunch
have
of
said
pizzas
that,
from
we
the
did,
boosters
I
and
mean,
brought it
for
back.
sure, so thankful to this community
Yeah.
for all their help.
We kind of left it to Jeff Shepley, to clean up the complex, he offered. And he had Rick Thatcher come and do a lot of the, just putting it in piles. I talked to Jeff yesterday, today he got the press box off of the dugout, or off of the backstop. And what's out there right now, and if anybody has time to look and you want to make a decision now that we just want to burn. So I can talk to Brock and see, and then he'll just pick up the steel afterwards. We don't really know what to do. So, I didn't put on those soccer goals.
Did we get those basketball backboards from those goal setters? They were in that football shed, weren't they?
They were on the side of it and they still are. There's a roller and those and some soccer
I mean, the
goals.
backboards themselves,
Yeah, they're.
they were inside
Yeah,
there.
they're in the.
We got them
they're in the
saved.
Complex, yeah.
Okay,
The poles themselves are still
Yeah.
outside.
yeah, that's. fine.
There's some homemade soccer goals that were in the building that were holding the building up, so they drug those out first, and they're pretty banged up. There's pieces broken, they were handmade, so they were welded, and he said buy 4 new ones. So it's up to you guys to decide if we have soccer, we don't have soccer, he said they're about $5,000 a piece. So we had a bigger set and a smaller set, so that's something that we can decide on.
I know a lot of the football bags are ruined, but there's also where the goalposts, are those usable? Because we have to have, the 2 goalposts wrap around the.
Actually, I'm not sure about those, they were in there. weren't
Yeah.
they? They had just got the football stuff over to the shed, so that helped.
I
I
saw
mean,
them
like
like,
Football
most every-
cart.
Well, the good is I moved the good stuff and the bad stuff got ruined, but they're gonna replace the bad for good, so.
Yeah, I think we're just going to make that list of.
But if we have to have pads for Friday,
For
a week from
Friday.
Friday.
well, I know we had them because I saw them sitting
I
by the
know there's
purple,
one
they
that
were
go into
sitting
the
by the purple mats when
upstairs.
they moved them out over to, they had them leaning up
Okay.
against the fence. I
Actually,
saw
I
them
forgot
sitting.
about him, because I think Josh grabbed him when he took his track mats.
I
but
bet
we
they're
can
with
make
the
a
track.
note
I'll
on-
check on it tomorrow too.
On pads,
Up in my head.
goalpost pads. So that's, instead of our damage, I figure it's about $300,000, and I can't believe that, can't be if the fence is 47,000. By the time, so Jeff is gonna clean it up, and then we can do whatever we want for quotes. Of course, I quoted if we want him to rebuild for us after the decision's made what you wanna build. Quite a bit of electrical where that electrical shed was, it knocked it down, the power's off to it right now, which runs the softball lights and all the power to the concession stand and stuff over there, but I put that to look at it on Friday, so. The football lights came on, few bulbs out, so we know we're good for football right now, but we don't know about the other side yet. And it's Jake.
The other side,
the softball side.
Okay.
The
Because
concession stand and stuff like that.
we're hours to a day away from sending to the 4 teams that are coming here for football on the COVID plan, and just want to make sure where they're going, how they're, that whole thing. So those bleacher, everything's good over
It's
there.
good.
Great.
It's good, yeah. I think that's, you know, I'm trying to get quotes and getting, I got these 2 going. I had the Doors Inc. there today. I quoted all the doors at the complex. I did the 2 that the insurance said, and I quoted them all because we put steel up this far and they're rusted in between, and just to see what it was gonna cost for a future thing. Talked to them about, instead of that concession stand window coming down, about doing a roll-up door, something that would, you know, just for the future. But since he was here, I just picked his brain and asked him a few questions, so. Doors Inc. or Walsh will be here in the morning to do the card reader. He texted me tonight and said, how about 6:30? And it was supposed to be 7:30. I'm like, I'll be there. Walsh will be here bright and early in the morning. And I think that's about all. The commissioner's been here working on stuff in the building project part of the damage. That's about it. That's just about it. There's a lot of it. Any questions on the damage or something? Anybody, I mean, I don't know about that fire. I don't know about building it. Or do we have somebody haul it off and then just come get it in dump trucks and haul it away? Do we feel
Who
like
suggested the fire?
Jeff?
Oh, Jeff Shepley.
Well, actually, Rick Thatcher did. So Jeff, I talked to Jeff, or we did. Uh-oh. Rick came with it and kind of smashed everything together. I think he did it as a goodness of his heart. I don't think they were gonna get billed from him, but they talked about a fire, and I don't know if that's something to do or we just hire somebody to haul it off. They wanted us to put steel in one pile, wood in another pile, where you'd be 3 months out there taking every screw out to take the steel off the wood. So, I mean, it could be a decision that you guys make. I don't know what's best.
I think I'd lean just to haul it off
Haul
or
it
try
off.
to burn it there. I mean, then you end up with nails and screws and whatever.
Well,
I
and if they
mean,
do it on that pad,
that'll ruin the pad.
it'll ruin the pad, and that's where
Right.
it's all sitting at. And I do.
I think I'd see
Haul
if
it?
we could haul it.
you know, just
personally, I
kind of
don't
put
want
it out to some
I don't
people,
want to
and
speak for all the board, but
Are there like a lot of big pieces of metal though, or?
Yeah, it's a metal on the
Well, it's just a
wood, so
can.
then it would just be light a fire and
So
whatever.
you couldn't scrap it or
yeah,
whatever?
it wouldn't be.
Well, and I have a dumpster out there
So
from
we,
Car Country.
yeah, we tried,
Yeah, we took-
looked into that, and they said that scrap isn't worth anything
We
right now.
did 2 loads to Car Country, and then they left us an empty one, and there's some steel in it, just the garage doors
But
and
even to
stuff,
take it
but-
So
to
they
ground
did-
it, to
Yeah,
get money,
it's
they would
not
charge
worth
us.
anything.
Right.
So I can look into, or maybe you got an idea of who could haul it off.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it might be like Mid-State, I don't know.
I don't
Just
know
if
if they
somebody has
do
dump
that,
trucks,
but
but-
yeah.
So what's that big long trailer that Thatcher's using that has, it's like long and they're putting all the
Side
is
dump.
it a
Side dump.
side dump?
I heard say somebody didn't have a tarp for it though.
There's probably companies out there, I don't know. They just have to bring a machine to be able to pick it up and put it in there, because all we have is our little skid loader, so.
Right.
What caused the roof leak in the new bathroom? Did they get that
There
fixed?
was, yeah,
That
it
was
was
a
a
vent cap at the
fan
bottom.
and vent or a vent that didn't have a top on.
It wasn't screwed down
Yeah.
properly to begin with, or
I sucked it
maybe
right
not
out,
screwed
but it
down at
didn't
all,
make
so.
any damage, and Connor went up and screwed it on, so it wasn't.
Yeah, and
The
that,
ceiling tile probably replaced, because water ran through the ceiling tile, did it damage the ceiling?
I don't know, I didn't look. I haven't been over there since it's been daylight.
and that condensing unit up on the top, they didn't have to bring a crane in.
Yeah, they just moved
They were
it.
able to move it back
jacked it up
themselves,
and
and it's
moved it
already been
over.
bolted back down. And everything. So we thought that was gonna be
Yeah.
a chunk and change.
We got a pet bat. Thanks for coming to get that out.
Did you get that?
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Just left yesterday, just left yesterday. He goes, are you still at school? And I go, no. He goes, well, there's a bat hanging in Angie's office.
Oh, God.
And it was a fat
It
one.
was
That was the
big.
fattest bat I've ever
She
seen.
freaked out. She didn't care about the
So I
amount of wind that
drove-
was blowing us away, but
So
She
she
didn't
goes, I
like
thought
that
I
bat.
saw something, but it was just hanging. And he was about that big. He was pretty fat, even before he had his wings
Oh,
out.
my gosh.
See, they
So
lost
I
all
went
their
and got
homes.
the-
They lost all their homes.
I went
had
and
two-
got
I
my
had
backpack
we
did you
back.
have bats this week?
Uh, Yeah, it's bad, they're bad, evidently, because we, right out by this front door, there's a bat, and there's bat poop, and I can't get him. I sprayed like 20-foot spray up in there, but anyway, I sucked him up. I had it in my backpack back, so I went across the street, and I dumped the bag, and I'm poking a stick to see in the bag, and he's not in my dirt. So I look in, and his eyes are in the hose. He was stuck in the
Oh, my
hose.
gosh.
So Andrew's watching, I'm out there beating the hose until the bat comes out. Then I just grabbed my stuff and left him there, and I left. He was, I mean,
But surely he was still alive.
he was still alive, I didn't kill him.
Good,
No-
very
no
good,
way.
very
He was-
good.
He looked right at me, and I got him out of that hose.
Oh, thank goodness it was in Rob's office and not mine, because you'd be looking for a new superintendent. I would have had
Got him. So any
Well,
questions on any other
Needless
damage?
to say, Pam's been busy.
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
Been a
Was
big
anybody
one.
at the school that day?
Yeah.
Were you
They
here?
were
You-
in their
some of them
office.
were.
Me and Angie were in my office with Forrest and
Yeah,
Travis.
so, yeah. Deb was out here filming it, and I'm sure I'm on there going, Deb, I'm scared, Deb, I'm scared.
We had teachers go to the basement, like,
Teachers in the
the
Oh,
shower
in the
room.
store, meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sandy
From the
Hoffman was
gym.
over her science.
Me and
table.
Tammy got stuck in my car. We were in my car and we just pulled into Danny's shop so that if a tree came, it'd have to come through the back of my car. And we just hunkered down in the seats and it was just.
There was a family that got caught on the bike trail. Heard about that?
No.
Yeah, well, I heard somebody was walking, they wondered.
They were
if
riding
that
their
family-
bikes, that family,
Yeah.
and it came up and they dropped their bikes and they took off running. They hit in that culvert by the gravel road, the new culvert. that they put
Luckily,
in there.
there was a culvert.
They got in there and
Bad.
stayed there, and then they walked up the gravel road to,
Colines?
Coline's house, I think.
Yeah, from the gravel road.
Joel?
No.
Marlis.
Marlis, yeah, Marlis, okay, yeah.
Mom.
And, she was in her barn and got trapped in her barn. She couldn't get to the house during the whole storm. So they ended up getting up there and, they actually called 911 because they were in this culvert and they didn't know what to do. And 911 said,
Stay there.
we won't be able to come get you, so just be safe, find a safe spot. They didn't know what to tell.
Lounge up. Huge.
Oh, Mike Brandon, did you hear what he did? He was in his truck and he was driving, he was right on the highway going home and he was right by Westfield for that opening. And he knew, he just saw, he said his truck just started levitating. He parked the truck and got in and jumped into one of the window wells at DeYoung's house. Brian DeYoung's house, and he said he just laid down there. He was banging on the window thinking that maybe, but they weren't, they were up at the
Well, that'd be a
office.
pretty good spot, because I always
I was
heard you're
thinking he
supposed to
could
lay in
fit
a
them. I was
ditch, but who
like,
wants to lay in a
He's a pretty
ditch?
tall guy,
So-
he's a big guy.
That lady that lives in Hurley's old house, Hurley's house out here, she was on her way home from Nevada and got to Derek and Carrie Ann's house, and she said that it's a dead end now, but it's a highway, and she said it was raining so hard and the wind so bad, it looked like the pavement was coming up and down like this. She was scared to death.
It sure the heck could have been, the way that it.
Could have been, but yeah.
moved things. Nobody got hurt that we
I know,
of.
that's what's so
amazing to me. I think
That was the
we're
first
so
thing that our
lucky.
insurance adjuster asked
I think
when
we're
he
just-
was out at the sports complex. He says, it's amazing that nobody was out here and got hurt.
We're pretty blessed. And the people coming out of the woodwork to work for other people, and if you're driving by, just bring your chainsaw. It's been pretty, it's pretty cool, really.
Okay, I guess one thing on the building project, I talked to Dale last week on the floor tile that's, how it's mismatched a little bit. And he said it's kind of back and forth yet between the installer and the company. But he said that he contacted Jamie and Jamie contacted Julie, that we're withholding double what the cost of the floor tile was. And like Dale said, we'll win in the end, but.
That's good to know, because I'm not supposed to look at it. Connor says, I thought you were over that. I said, I'm not over it.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, the floor tiles, it's like,
The dark gray
there's the
color.
dark perimeter, but it's not like in any nice order. So it's like, what they did was there's like gray tiles, and then they accidentally put some of the tiles, like reversed it, and so it's a different shade. And so it doesn't, it's not random enough that it's random. It's like, just looks not right.
Is it in the comments area?
It's in the
It's
comments,
everywhere.
it's everywhere that
Yeah.
tile is.
So mostly just the dark gray are gonna be
Yeah.
listed on.
But
the
there's a
off-white
little,
color is good,
the
but then
purple's a little bit too. Isn't there a few purple spots?
yeah,
And so we just kind of went like,
then they came back
that
through
doesn't
from where
look
the
right.
So one looks like a
contractors had
mask, the other
scuffed.
looks like a gloss.
Yeah, and the color is just not quite
Yeah,
right.
it
And
doesn't
so,
match.
so we're fighting with them about that. So like Dale and Connor said, we'll win because we're holding on to the money.
Well, then they came
But-
back through and just changed random tile that whatever the guy's name is, that put old tape everywhere. What was
Oh,
his name?
Jason Cooper.
Jason Cooper, yeah. And so they had to change those, so then they just put in another tile and they have no wax on them. So they tried to wax and it wasn't like my wax job and I'm having a hard time looking at it, but now they're just a non-wax tile in the middle of where they tried to wax. So
If there's
it'll
blue
look better next year, I
tape,
think.
don't they know? So I have like 2 or 3 in my office. I'm seeing.
Yeah,
a lot
don't
of
take the blue
places.
tape. Like,
No, but
Yeah.
do they know?
yeah, Jason Cooper is the one who put that on there. So he won't sign off on it till it's fixed.
Yeah, he'll be back, so check it again and check it again and check it
Yeah.
again.
And then the other thing I would say is if you've noticed the sign on the press box is a mess. Does anybody notice that? with
Mhm.
me and Jason?
Yeah, we have.
The
orange
We all,
on that.
It's
yeah.
all orange.
It's turned
So
orange.
it's turned orange.
Where'd that
It
come
looks
from?
burnt is what it looks like.
So Jason Finch made the black to be able to put the graphics on it. So now the graphics person's telling us, well, it's because of the, and Jason, I'm sure did it
Does it back.
as volunteer. So the only thing we're gonna probably be able to do is get either that company or another company in to do another one across that. But it looks really bad and I don't know that we're gonna get it fixed for the football season, but I'm gonna try. I'm not real happy about it at all.
Mhm.
Turned really.
It's,
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, I hadn't noticed it until we were out there with the.
and you may not unless you're on the
Well, you have to be
football
on the
field or
track.
you have to be on the
Like
other
that.
side.
I thought, I
Oh.
saw
I
it
don't
and I
think
thought,
other
because it
people
kind of
would
looked like
really notice,
stormy.
cause it does
Yeah.
make you think of the
This is on
sun
both
coming
ends.
into the storm,
Yeah.
kinda.
The weird part is if you look at the panel right in the middle, that's the color it's supposed to be. And the panels off to the
Just gets
side are
orange.
just turning rusty orange red color.
Football will go on with it there, but
Yeah, that's what, but.
yeah, it's just.
We shouldn't be advertising it, so everybody's watching this, like now everybody's gonna be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it.
I was all messed up.
And I think the benches are ordered. Dale has, so whenever they come in, we'll bring a skid loader in, forks, and get those set. So hopefully before school starts. But
So are you thinking about still doing sort of a tour,
Well,
like a virtual tour? sort
we
of
wanna
thing?
get things shined up. As soon as we can get things kind of shined up and ready, we can. And then since we're just kind of going random here, we're gonna do a ribbon cutting for anyone who can join us on the 24th, just that very first thing at like 8 a.m. So I realize most people have jobs and you won't be able to come, but if you're all welcome to. So we're just gonna do a real quick little ribbon cutting. I don't know, I think the city council, the Chamber of Commerce is gonna try and send some people. I don't know if they have like giant scissors. I don't know. Oh, do you? Okay.
You need those, do you?
Yeah, we might
I
need
have those in my
those.
house. Good photo.
Yeah, so, and then I invited the Daily News, Jamie from the Daily News to just come take a couple pictures. I've never done a ribbon cutting, so I'm not really sure what goes on. So if anyone has been a part of one and wants to come take the lead or tell me what we're supposed to do.
So we should have somebody, like if we did the Wednesday of the week, like they're coming Monday, right? The teachers are coming Monday,
Mhm.
what's that date?
The 24th.
That is the 24th, that's the Wednesday.
No, that's Monday. We're doing that ribbon cutting first thing Monday morning, and then we'll cut the ribbon and then teachers can come in and like grab some coffee and donuts. And then we'll go down to probably the cafeteria, the old lunchroom, or I can't even remember exactly. It says it in the back to school letter where we're going. And then we'll spread out and then we'll have just a real quick.
Well, I was
Welcome
thinking
back.
for the principal part of it, if I said by Wednesday, their rooms would be ready, or they'd have the 3 days in their room before, will they do the virtual from their room? Like if Mrs. Bishop says, hi,
Oh,
I'm
well-
Mrs. Bishop, and I want to welcome.
Did you mean more of like a tour of the building? I think people want like a
Yeah.
tour,
Of
like
the
a
new
video
part.
of the new part.
Yeah,
But how about for the parents, we talked about earlier
Yeah, that's
about
probably up to
having
Jason and
each
his teachers,
teacher-
how they wanna do
each
that.
teacher just do a short little clip to welcome the kids in their class, since we're not having an open house. Do you think that that's?
Jason can do
And
it.
then somebody take
They're
on
all
like.
kind of individually brainstorming some different
Yeah.
things because we aren't doing an open house. so.
Right.
I think we should put out something, because I've seen parents asking, is there an open house that we're having at some point? So parents don't know what's going on. I mean, I don't know what that looks like, what how you put it out or.
Well, I leaked that to the superintendent of Maxwell, and he thought it was marvelous. We're gonna do that. That's what he said. So if we don't do it now, I'm gonna feel like,
Well, we'll do
But I-
something.
I didn't know. I just thought it'd be cool, you know, your kids going to kindergarten and they see their teacher online and at least they've seen their face and know who they're gonna have, or,
Yeah.
you know, if they went,
Pretty good at
that we'd have to do like.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of experience at making videos, so we'll come up with
But you could
something.
probably get like Zach Backus to come, and if you just said Wednesday, here's your time slot from 8 to 8:30, that they're gonna come to your room, or I don't know. It might be more of a problem than it's worth.
We'll figure out something. So stay tuned on that. But just know the ribbon cutting is the 24th, first thing in the morning, like 8 o'clock. And then you're welcome to stay for coffee and donuts if you can make it.
Okay, any questions on building or storm damage, or pretty much covered it all, I think.
Yeah.
We'll move on to principal reports.
I can go that way.
Thank you, Pam.
And Jason, you want to go first?
What do you wanna know? I don't even know where to start. So honestly, I've probably, you know, spent as much time in the past that my memory can do, just kind of like preparing how to implement the COVID plan more than preparing for school. Like, you know, like we would typically, all the things that would typically get done are just kind of on the back burner as we're trying to implement the plan. So, you know, the teachers will come in next week. We'll meet one way or another, whether we're zooming to each other or we're getting together, but to start working through that. And so the biggest aspect, although there's a lot of plans, the biggest aspect is the lunch recess plan. It will be a nightmare. It'll be time stringent. I mean, everybody will be strictly following times, getting kids in, groups out while new groups are coming in. Same on the playground, rotating through and trying to just keep that moving. You know, with breaks from masks, with just, you know, trying to get used to a new way of doing things. I think a typical school day doesn't look anywhere like what it looked like last year. Whatever a teacher accomplished in 7+ hours a day, it's going to be really hard because there's so, I mean, even that lunch recess time is extended a little bit because I want to get those kids out for a half hour, but if you're the last one to the playground, you know, your typical time in was 15 minutes later, so I got to extend you out a little bit to get you that time. So we're just gonna have to spend the first 3 days of school getting out of one and talking about what went well, what didn't go well, what's, you know, where are glitches in our plan, getting kids off the bus, coming into the school, getting everybody just used to those routines will be the biggest thing we can do. I mean, we're asking, I had a teacher today tell me that she felt pretty confident that her younger kids would adapt very well to this plan, better than we think they're going to, right? Everybody thinks little kids aren't gonna be able to wear masks. I think they're probably gonna be, they're gonna be able to wear masks. I mean, a lot of little kids are home telling their mom, you know, hey, we gotta get our masks on before we go out. You know, I mean, they're, you know, they can get into that routine. We're just gonna have to work through that. And so that's where we're just spending a lot of our energy. But as I told Michael, you know, to get the kids back to school, or the teachers back to school next week, teachers will accomplish a lot in a week being here, you know, just getting their rooms ready. Many teachers have spent the better part of the last month and a half trying to get their rooms, trying to figure out configurations. They're building things to kind of like put dividers in so that, you know, we can create space that isn't really there. I mean, 6 feet of space for every kid is not there in a classroom. So how are we going to do this and also provide some opportunities to get some breaks from the masks is what we're trying to do. So it's a lot of work that way. I will be happy when those routines are set and we're hammering away on, like Rob said, all the initiatives we had going last year have been on the back burner since last year, and we want to get them back in place. And so how can we do that? So a lot of our new illustrative math stuff came this week, and I came down to the school on a day to unload a semi-truck full of the stuff, and I said to the teachers, you know, when you're sending excitement about math materials coming, I mean, you're really reaching for something, right? When the storm like happened and your big excitement of the day is the iron materials came. So, and you know, they're excited about it, but that's not the forefront of their mind right now. The forefront is how we're gonna get kids into the building and how we're gonna keep them moving through. I'm a little concerned, I'll just say openly, you know, not every kid has responded to whether they're gonna be online or not. Just got an email that, yeah, my neighbor's kid's not coming either, and they're not on the list, and so like, you know, I don't know what to expect, how many are gonna be gone, how many are gonna be here, because right now our online numbers are pretty small, really. I mean, we're 10, 11 elementary kids online, but there's still 50, 60, 70 kids out there that haven't responded to the survey, so we don't really know. I don't know how many of them are elementary kids, so I don't know how many we're gonna, but we've got a whole bunch of new kids in our district. Like huge, I think we have plus 18 to the elementary kids that are brand new to our district.
They're not
Almost
open enrolled in, are they? Because we're not approving that many tonight, we're.
No.
No, they're not enrolled. They're all moving in. I mean, so many moving. I just signed up a new family. They're gonna do online, but 2 kids, and then we just had a family, Marshalltown, their house got destroyed. They needed a place to live. The Baxter's the closest town to Marshalltown they could find a place to live, so they're moving in, they're renting a place and enrolling their kids today. Another new family. That 18 doesn't even include still a 3rd grader and a 6th grader. There's just
Yes, another kid for the 6th grade.
there's just bucket loads of kids. I don't know. Don't you agree? I'm not
Yeah, no, for
exaggerating,
sure.
am I?
I mean, Greg
It's
is a
almost
little bit.
35, 37 new kids.
Greg is
district-wide.
nervous that he thought he ordered plenty of Chromebooks and then he ordered like, oh, I'll probably have like 10 spares. He's like, I don't know that I'm even gonna have enough to go around. So, which we're excited about, but like, we just gotta get them here and like figure out what we're gonna do with them.
Yeah,
So,
our
great
kindergarten,
problem.
our kindergarten will be pretty close to 20 plus kids per class now.
Wow.
They're almost like the 2nd grade,
Yeah.
you know, they're gonna be 20, 21, I think. They're pretty close, if not half that right now. So it's crazy.
That's good.
So anyway, if there's something specific you wanna know about our plan, or, cause it's just like, it's all just in my brain, like just mush, like,
The email you sent this morning or today.
yeah,
this afternoon.
4.5 pages.
Yeah, well, that's good though, I think. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it went basically from start to end and that's the best you could do, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to like get that out so at least people could see, you know, kind of what our plan is and how the day will look for those that are curious. I worry about the first day of school a little bit, right? Because all the kindergarten parents are gonna wanna be there for their
That's my big
kids. And
concern is.
how am I gonna get them social distance and how, so I'm gonna do my best. And I told them, you can come in the building with your kids, but we're gonna get them in, get them acclimated, and get you out. Like, that's gonna be our one exception day, you know, like, and then we don't want, I mean, our visitors just need to be minimized. We just are gonna have to, but
You're gonna keep it less than 15 minutes, right?
I understand the anxiety,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, that we can tell them, less than 15
yeah,
minutes.
if we're masked up and we get in there
Right.
real quick, and you know, the parents can feel, they didn't get a kindergarten roundup. They didn't get those opportunities as kindergarten parents and kids, so we have
They don't get
to,
to
we
meet
have
the
to have
teacher
some
night.
concession. Yeah, there's no meet the teacher night, so we're gonna have to do something to put their minds at ease a little bit and let them come in and see the classroom. Okay, you know, because obviously there'll be little kids that don't want to be left there, you know, so we're just gonna have to do our best. But
Did you forward that email? to me?
I can forward you guys, sorry.
I
I
had a
kind of sent it
couple-
through JMC
No, that's
to
okay.
elementary.
I had a couple of parents, elementary parents ask me, you know, and I'm glad to hear that you just sent it out.
Anybody have any questions for Jason? Okay, we'll move on to Rob.
I'll start easy and work to hard. I'm in the same boat. I probably, some nights we kind of grasp at straws, what to share, or be academic, and things that just, we know I have a whole page. I know we don't have time, so I'm just gonna try to get things I want to make sure go in the notes and then share what I can. I want to thank Colfax Mingo, because we didn't have a volleyball place to practice. I've reached out to 4 schools, I guess is the maybe soon to be acting AD, but took the horns there and turn down. I also want to thank Iowa Power Volleyball, so we're going to try to send them, Julie, a little something just for opening and turning the lights on and letting us have that for 2 nights. But Colfax Mingo stepped up and said, come on down once our girls are done, because of the COVID. I mean, most schools would have just said, yeah, come on in, but they're trying to quarantine their teams. The last thing they wanted, that they were over the top, working with me. And of course, the first time we're gonna go down with the lights pop back this year, so. But I at least wanted to reach out. I put it out on social media. We're gonna have a homecoming and a senior night. That's kind of the biggest thing I've gotten from our athletes anyway, of the 3 sports. And I said, yes, we are. Senior night, we're bumping up as early as we can, just in case we get pulled on both volleyball and football. Homecoming is down the road. We don't know what that's gonna look like, but my answer is yes, we'll have one. Jason's, I was actually reading it tonight, is really good. Where we're at in that whole thing is Jason, Dennis, and Josh, Travis, Dennis, and I met, and we have a plan that's a draft. Sent that to our BLT, and we've been working off that draft. BLT is actually gonna meet Friday. I think we're close, but I really wanted the teachers to, I mean, there's some things like no lockers, except in the morning for a coat and bag. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things. Jay's talking about AM time, so now teachers have to let kids come into the room by 7:45. And there's a lot of teachers that are bowling their backs on certain things, and we just have to have grace and we have to have flexibility. But if the BLT can say, here's how we're doing it, we'll be better than Rob saying how we're doing it. So the parents are gonna get a long email, just like Jason's over the weekend. We'll meet Friday, I'll organize it Saturday, Sunday. Before that, Zach and I have been working on this return to play plan, which is just massive. It is eaten up between everybody canceling and what it's going to look like and how we're practicing and how we're playing. It's just been endless. So I just started to get my feet under me from the building side of things with some people this week. Mental health's a big one. For as much as we're talking about academics and losing initiatives and all this stuff, I'm really concerned about our kids mentally and where they're going to be. So right now we've instituted an advisory time. We've instituted a survey that's going to go out after the first day or second day of school once they get in here and say, where are you at with masks? Where are you at with social distancing? How are you feeling? We're going to get both sides, but we're going to start to gauge where our kids are at. We're also thinking about a kind of a red, yellow, green plan. So Travis knows who he's working with, talking to, getting comments home. As much as we want to get kids in here, that whole mental. And then if and when they quarantine for 14 days, how are they feeling going home after they just were with their friends for 6 days? Now you can go home for 14 days. And I mean, it's going to be a challenge. So right now, mental health is at the top of our list. Maybe moving to the really top of the list will be, we're having already issues politically amongst staff and amongst how we're handling things out on social media. Kids hardcore on social media that's going to walk into our building and be a problem. I was kind of hoping maybe it wouldn't, but now I've got multiple things. Jason knows a couple as well. So one of the questions I have is, what legally is our stance on social media, Facebook? Where is that line that people, can we have teachers say on Facebook, the mask thing is stupid? I don't know the answer. I'm struggling already with that. Or let's talk about Black Lives Matters versus All Lives Matter. Where are we at with people and on our staff, let alone our kids? Because our kids are out there. I mean, there is no middle ground anymore. I mean, I'm feeling it going like this. And then when we open our building, especially at our level with kids, but if the staff is at each other right now, I'm feeling really not very good control. I feel like Jason had a really good conversation today. If teachers are not requiring the masks when they should be in the room, we both are on the same page. We're bringing them in. We're going to tell them once, then we're writing them up, and then we're sending them home. So that's how that's going to go. And it's real easy with kids. We have a distance learning plan. So if you don't think that you can be in that lunchroom or go through your lunch line with your mask on, then pull it down to eat, we're going to go home. I mean, that's where we've decided that we are going to be with this. Now it's getting out there on social media. So I mean, it's happened a lot today. We didn't have a chance to talk. I just need guidance, or maybe it's a district board thing and we just do the best we can.
We can certainly check with Matt Carver. There's policies. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No, that's
SAI I'm sure has policies, and we can just find out legally what are our options. Have you checked with Matt at all?
I mean, I've done this a lot with things like the Confederate flag, so I kind of know where we're at. The problem is it was always students.
Mhm.
So we haven't had the line with staff nearly as much. Usually what happens is then I come in and try to take it from a humanistic side and say, I know where your beliefs are and I respect your beliefs, but we're also teachers, so can you just back it off on social media? And it does for a while. But it's not quiet right now.
Well, yeah, let's
I think the biggest issue maybe as it pertains, my perspective on it is that it's perspective, right? Because I do feel that people can express their opinions, but when the perspective from the opinion is that I'm not so sure I, as the parent, appreciate your take because it directly goes against my child, right? I mean, if you're saying that on your social media that you don't like green people, right? I'm just using a general example. And then my kid's green and in your class, well, oh no, I like your kid. I'm just, yeah, well, wait a minute. Like, and that's a really kind of, but that example is out there. And especially if you think about masks, because our policy is masks. And so if you're saying out in the world that you don't believe in masks, then as a parent, I'm sitting at home going, but I thought my kid was going to be safe in your class. Are you making them? Well, of course I'm making them wear masks because that's our policy. Well, then you probably, it's not that I don't disagree that you can have a disagreement about masks. I just wonder what the perception is, and that, you know, like Rob said, on a humanistic side, I'll definitely sit with a teacher or staff member, anybody, and say, hey, let's think about this a little bit, you know, before we, you know, because we all want to express ourselves, but sometimes the perception is a little tough, and then we end up, I mean, Rob's even talking bigger issues, but the perception of that can be very large, very big.
A teacher comes out and puts on Twitter, I'm going back to work because I have to pay bills, but I'm scared for my health and I think it's a bad decision. How do we feel about that? I mean, so then that person,
Your decision. I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
You can come to work or resign. Those are options.
so we're okay just saying we've made a bad decision, but here I come. And I'm great if we do, but some of the stuff definitely is, I mean, yeah, I mean, when you're talking, we don't need to go into this. But I wanted the board to be aware that I have a really strong feeling that this is not about, that the COVID is going to turn into a much bigger issue in our building. I think we'll all be able to handle it, but some things may go, Dr. Clapper's going to handle with the board, and exactly, I mean, I know legalities, but I mean, yeah, and then heard of school today, I mean, teacher refusing to quarantine,
After an exposure?
coach, so they're arguing whether they were really exposed or not. So now the AD says,
Public
well,
health has some authority there too.
Yeah.
are we sure they do?
Jasper County Public Health told us they would.
I
would
know
call
they
the
did,
police.
and
They
I'm
said
just,
they would call the police, and it's a
Great.
police matter.
Yes.
I can tell you that the district right outside to the west is not handling it that way. Only through sports, because that's constant with positive cases, what contact tracing is to direct exposure. But I keep saying to those people, I sat on the Zoom with Jasper County, but then it does come back. They said, well, they have 2 people. Once school starts, how are they, because they're going back to school and say, you do your contact tracing, and if you think they need to go home, go home.
Well, we can always contact them and say, we have people that are refusing to quarantine. Can you call the police? Can they do their thing? And I'm sure they will. I mean, am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't speak to Dallas
I'm not sure it's the
County.
right time, but I don't ever
County.
know when the right time is, because it seems like we just show up every 30 days and we talk, but there's things that I think are board.
I guess what it comes down to for me, if I'm not speaking for Rob, is there's so much inconsistency in the world in this, and the only place that I need consistency is right here. Period, end of story. So if I say something, then I need Dr. Clapper to back me, and she needs you guys, right? I need to know that, and there's times where I don't even feel, nothing again. I mean, I just don't even know what to say, because you turn on this, you read that, and there's no consistency in it. So if I'm gonna be the guy that's telling a parent who's saying, my kid's not gonna wear a mask, I'm gonna say, well, then we have an online option for you.
Right.
But then we turn around and go, well, then then why do we bother?
Why do you
Right.
look like that guy?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's gonna be very difficult. And I'm not saying anybody's gonna do that, but but, you know, we don't know what's gonna happen.
So we just need to be a united.
I just think we need to be consistent. So when Rob says there's never the right time, because it does feel like that. It's like almost daily you can come up with something that you wish you had the right time to bring it up and find out if that's really how we're gonna do it, or if that's really how the world's doing it, or what's really true, because we don't know what's true or false anymore. So we're just trying to like implement our plan. That's where I'm at.
My view, and we've made the decision to go back to school. Okay, if that teacher doesn't want to teach, find something else to do. I don't know. We've made the decision to require masks. If you guys have blowback on the masks, I think that's like our job to say, hey, that was our policy. It does also. I mean, as far as
My
the
biggest-
political stuff, I mean, that's.
Social media is
that's the
probably
part
the
that-
biggest, I mean, I know Matt Carver will give us guidance. I know that we can't, I mean, it's hard to meet with teachers right now, once we get into the building, maybe the social media, but I mean, let's just be honest, we have the extremes on the right and left in this building, and I'm feeling like we don't have many that are listening, and they're gonna come in here, so I just don't need the kids, I mean, if they are, but
My hope is they would be professional at
Exactly.
their job, and.
I would too,
building-
but they're not. Yeah,
Like
I
Jason
agree.
said, it's hard with the social media, because like you said, you can't control what they say, you know, you can't censor people, but at the same
I
time,
don't
if they're in this building, they should be.
Have a united front within
Yeah.
school.
If you could check and just get back to Jason and I in general, I'm sure Matt's taken 100 phone calls from districts between what went on this summer of what's being posted and what they can and can't. And I'm pretty much sure they can about post anything they want. The struggle in Baxter is everybody follows Facebook and sends it to every person in the world. So if somebody puts something out, everybody knows in a hurry. And then Jason and I are spending way too much time dealing with kids.
And I'm personally not on Facebook, so then it's
Oh, I don't
hearsay.
Facebook
And then I'm
either,
like,
so-
oh, I don't even know how to get on there. Is it my job to police it? Like,
Right.
but I know that there's people that have perception on it, right? And they're like frustrated, and how do you handle that? And it's not
And it's
just
not
teachers,
Facebook,
it's
it's Twitter.
students, it's, yeah,
yeah,
it's-
it's
I mean,
all-
I get it, it's all, you know.
I
They
started
wonder
to
if
go,
they have a certain
well, we
perception
can
or
talk
a
tomorrow and
teacher
figure out
should.
exactly how we wanna word it, and then the three of us can email Matt and get some answers. Matt's the attorney for SAI, and he'll answer questions, very responsive, and no charge.
Well, I think made the news, was it today or yesterday, the Iowa State professor,
Yeah.
it's like, there's a thing called free speech. I understand this person doesn't like, but you cannot force your opinion on your students, I would say. So. your
But if
teacher-
I came out and said, if I put on Twitter, I can't believe Baxter's going back all the time, why we're not doing a hybrid is so stupid. How would we handle that? You would bring my ass in and probably send me home. I mean, my butt in and send me home.
But we just have to find the
That's
legality,
what-
we can't
that's-
just say like, well, you can't say
Because
that.
I would like to
Because
know if that
there's- people
statement is
have
okay to put on
amendments as
social media
well.
that our policies are
And,
stupid.
you know, you've got like Tinker versus Des Moines, so there's like, unless it's causing a disturbance that's disturbing the educational experience of other kids, then you don't check your fundamental rights at the schoolhouse door, that's legal precedent. So we just need to get with Matt and find out exactly where are our rights as the employer to not censor, but to make sure that whatever people are posting is not causing a disturbance inside the schoolhouse. And that's where we have to find out the law and make sure that we are enforcing the law and our policies, not our opinions or how we think it should be handled, legally how it should be handled.
Because the last thing I'll say, and then I know everybody wants to move on, but I do think this is really important. We received multiple emails about a student and an issue this summer. So then we know everybody comes to the school for what are you going to do about it? I had it today. Email, what are you going to do about it? And then I wonder, is it a school issue? I want to send back and say, call an attorney, call the police. I don't know why this is my issue. But then I feel that I'm not responsive, or I've taken this, you're only saying that because you choose the other side. And that's not the case. I just want to have school. I just want to have the kids in.
Agreed. I mean, we all
So-
know that we had emails on both sides of an issue this summer, but those kids were not even our students. They're alumni. And we can't fix all the social ills in this country.
Yeah.
That same issue that we just had just this week, call that child's parent. I don't know what to tell you,
That's how I feel.
call
But
their
I feel
parents.
like
If
the
you're upset
parent-
about it, call their parents. Like, we're not gonna handle, we can't fix everything. We're just trying to get kids in here and teach them. So, sorry to interrupt Rob's report.
No, it's a downer, but I mean, it's actually making COVID come, which is stemming to this, but we'll grind, we'll do what we need to do. We don't know what Jason said it best, we can have a plan, and in 3 days, we're gonna have a different plan, that was not a great plan. We're gonna be flexible, asking for grace all the time through this. I just think that's a pretty much more hot topic than how we're cleaning and what we gotta do there. So I just wanted the board to be aware. I apologize for.
No,
I know
it's-
how you feel though, because, I think we all had those conversations this summer. I know I had many, but we represent this side just as much as we represent this side. And you do feel bad because you might lean towards the other way, but as a board member, how do you have to represent both, and it's difficult. It's hard conversation.
Yeah, we've had that conversation.
We have an election in November where one school in our conference has already told their social studies teachers they're not to discuss the election. And they're both sides, we're not going to put political signs anywhere.
Just the times we're living through right now.
So I guess, as far as enforcement, I think we're all pretty much on the same page. So I mean, do you guys?
Yeah.
Well, I've always been supportive, always feel supported. I just need to know, I don't want to I want to make sure when I'm talking to a student or a staff member, I have backbone, because I don't want to be the wrong person and send somebody home and they come back and say, how did that kid go home because he wasn't wearing a mask? That's an easy one. We know that's our policy. We're gonna have grace once or twice, and it's like hats or, we're gonna be on the same page. We've talked multiple times. It'll be consistent as much as we can on just mask enforcement, so.
So can you remind me, because I've had this question too from multiple people, their child will not wear a mask, and it is our policy that they do. What will happen to them if they've been told once and still continue not to? What will you do?
Is this like an elementary or probably they get
Probably middle, more middle school, high school.
they get sent home? I would just like if you were wearing a beer shirt to school, it'd be a dress code violation and you'd get sent home. Like you don't get to compromise the health of the other kids because you don't wear a mask. We had the option of online, and if you can't wear a mask, then you should have chosen the online option.
Can they,
They have the face shield too,
They
right?
have the face shield.
so they get sent home, they come back the next day without a mask again. They get sent home again.
And
Probably, in my mind, it's twice, because then we know I hope the first time, and then the kid just saying, I'm refusing to wear it. I'd rather be honest, I'll have that. Are we forgetting? I know you don't like the policy. And once he says, I'm gonna refuse to wear it, I need to call the parent and talk about our distance learning plan at Apex, and we can get your credits at home, and you're gonna online learn, and we're gonna provide support. I respect your decision. It's just not what the board's decision was, so you're gonna have to learn from home until we change our mask policy. It may be January, it may be 2021, but I'm not gonna be a jerk about it, but they just can't, they're just, because the next thing, 20 other kids will have them off. So, that's just,
Well, bottom line is that's our policy.
right, we don't get to pick and choose which policies we enforce,
I just was curious.
Yeah.
are you good with that? Is that where you would land?
What do you mean?
Are you good with what I just said about a kid without a mask? That's how you'd want it handled?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I was more curious about what the process was, because I was asked what the process was, and I was like, well,
Because if they're trying to challenge a process, I hope I'd find out in the first meeting when I bring them in and talk about why they're not wearing a mask. I think I'm gonna have 25 of those in the first 2 days. It's just going to be constant. But hey, I forgot, because we're going to have some teachers who are going to not even blink with them. If you don't have a mask on, you're going to the office right now. And they're gonna follow through with that. It's not the grace of, hey, take your hat off, hey, take your hat off. So I think it's that conversation, and I will ask, I mean, is this a forgetful, is this a routine, or are you really against this policy? Explain it to me, can we fix that? No, we can't. Call mom, hey, we gotta work through this.
Sure, okay. So if we have that situation, we can we transition a kid to be,
100%.
Yes, they could go
because
remote.
if you start out remote, I remember you saying at the last meeting, you can't switch, you can't
Right.
decide that you wanna come in
But if-
person, but we can go the opposite
Right,
way.
You
they
can go
would
remote.
have, but the
Okay.
Yeah, I think
problem
we
is
move-
they would have to start at the beginning, because it pre-tests you, so you're on a
Wow.
different curriculum, so if you do it right away, you're only gonna be a day or two behind, but if you partway through the second quarter decide you're gonna go to the online option, you start over at day one, so you are gonna have a whole boatload of work to get caught up. So it won't be easy, but it is possible.
Because I do think the other scenario in that that's less divisive is that we will have a parent who trusted our plan and felt very safe sending their kid to school, and maybe numbers blow up in Jasper County, or they blow up around the state, or things are getting bad, and then they don't, and then they do have that option to go to online then, right? I mean, that is their option. And we're finding out more and more, the problem, maybe for the public to hear is, we haven't all been trained in Edgenuity yet at the elementary building. And I was very much under the assumption that we didn't have a lot of control over it, right? They pre-test and then it builds a plan for them and away we go. But I'm starting to learn that we actually have a little more control than we thought we did. So there are some possibilities if a kid starts with us and then they feel that they need to be at home, that we might be able to manipulate things a little bit so that, they're not starting all at the beginning yet and working up, that we'd be able to pick and choose things to get them kind of keeping with us. So I don't know that 100% fact. We still have 3.5 hours of training next week on that, but we're getting bits and pieces that we have a little more control than we thought we did. So.
And when Jason was talking, that just made me think we should say this out loud so the public can hear. Whoops, somebody was, I needed to get in. We had talked about Edgenuity as K-12. And then we may have sent out an email a while ago that said we were going to go K-12 Edgenuity, but since we found a program that's called Apex, and it's for the 6 through 12, and we're much happier with that program. So we've decided at the secondary level to use the program Apex instead of Edgenuity. They're very similar, but Apex is a little bit, we're just a little happier with that program. And several schools around us are using it, and our curriculum director is going to be using it at Colfax Mingo as well. So he's going to be very familiar with it. So as far as like for parents and kids, they won't really notice any difference, but just the actual program. So if parents want to look it up for that handful of secondary kids who are going to do the online option, they should look up Apex. I think it's APEX. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of that.
That's approved by the Department of Education too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, tons of schools around are going to use that one. And originally, Edgenuity was just the program that we'd all heard of, and so everyone's kind of leaning that way. But then as people dug in a little bit more, we found this other program that's just as good and way more cost effective.
Okay. Anything else on principals reports? Okay, we'll move on to the 2019-2020 Baxter Community School District APR reports. Michael?
Yeah, so Josh would like to come and talk with the board, just give you guys some updates on some of these things. But as far as this report, a lot of it was based on your Iowa assessment scores, and we didn't take the Iowa assessment. So that the whole thing is going to be different. And then a lot of it is based on now your school report card. And so Josh would like to just talk with the board, maybe like even at the next month or the next couple months, and just visit with perhaps redesigning the way we talk through this. So it's kind of just table it for now. And actually, we could go on to the next one.
Okay, and the next one is the 2020-2021 Baxter Community School District Professional Learning Plan.
Again, this one, instead of having we'll still do the Mondays, but instead of having it thought out like every single Monday we're going to do this certain thing, this is such a fluid year that we are just going to do a just-in-time PD. So this first few weeks are going to be a lot of PLC, a lot of how do you teach online, how is it you engage learners. We sent a survey out this summer just asking the staff like their comfort level on a lot of the online teaching and learning, and they were all over the place. And Jason, Rob, you can chime in if you remember, but I know a lot of people did not feel comfortable teaching an engaging lesson, and how do I do assessments online? There's just a lot of concern. And so a lot of our PD is gonna be around these things. So it's unfortunate that we had to like table just a lot of the stuff that we've been really working on. And there's still the things that they need, like Jason's new math. They still are gonna need time to do that and to learn about that. But a lot of it is gonna be kind of an emergency basis this year. So that's kind of where we're at with the PD.
Okay. Board have any questions on that? Okay, we'll move on to the review of board policies. That was the 100s through 300s.
And
And
then,
the COVID policies.
and then we had and I actually just added the Title IX policy as well. And you can click on that if you like. And then for some reason, I can't get it to just delete the first page, but if you scroll to the second page, you'll see. This is just a new federal policy that just updates the discrimination and harassment policies. And so we have to add this policy. So it's a new one, but it just mostly goes through the way you investigate a sexual harassment claim, and that you won't retaliate against a person if they file a claim and that sort of thing. I mean, which we wouldn't, of course, but it's just a new policy that has to get added.
And any of the board members in your review of the 100 through 300s have any questions or find anything on those? Julie, did you have anything in the 100 through 300s?
I'm gonna be honest with you, it's all I can do to keep up with all the new policies that are coming out.
And this is just the first reading of those, so.
Right.
It'll be the final reading of the COVID-19 policies, which we
talked about
talked
in
about
depth
last,
last time, and
right.
I've reviewed those again, and I think those are fine.
I just had a couple questions, but I'll just ask you about one. I mean, there's nothing, okay, just,
Like clarification or something.
yeah, it's not.
So with the final reading of the COVID-19 policies, do we have a motion to approve those?
We can,
Final reading.
we can talk a little more about like building usage.
Oh,
that one of
yeah, that
these?
was one of those, wasn't it?
That was one of the
One of
COVID,
policies. Because we had said
that we were
no,
leaning to no outside, and I would agree with
That
that.
would include that.
Who would be responsible for the after cleaning?
yeah, so we just decided on.
Yeah,
that.
because we feel that our janitorial staff is already overworked with what they have to do in the 8 hours that the students are here, which is their primary function. And then to ask them to work longer to clean up after these wrecks, or to hire somebody, we're struggling at finding somebody to work. So, I don't know, and I've discussed it with a few of those groups, sorry, and they're perfectly fine with it. They aren't even sure that they're going to do anything. I think they're just sort of kind of waiting for us to decide what it is we're gonna do. Like one of those groups says, we're just gonna offer like, it's not even gonna be a tackle football now, it's gonna be like a flag kind of a thing, and it's only going to be outdoor activities. It's not going to be any indoor activities. And so they're just kind of on the fence waiting for us to, but they anticipate that we'll say nothing inside, at least through the first semester.
So we can revisit after.
Yeah, all these expire December 31st,
Okay.
so
All
all
the
these
COVID
COVID policies.
So as a board, is that what we want to do, is no
Kind of sounds like that's the best.
outside? Yeah.
That's for any group,
Any group, yeah.
not school related.
Mhm.
4-H or anybody that's used our
Rep,
facilities to,
day,
yeah.
what other,
Public
what is
safety.
this?
It's 4-H rec, they,
I think that's it.
Where we on booster club? Felt bad the other day, and we were trying to find a place to meet, and we met in the school, and I don't know if that's, just if we have this spot, is booster club an extension of the school?
Booster Club does feel different, like that's actually part of the school. I mean, that, you guys can decide, but that would be.
Me too, I just
nice.
knew this policy, and
Because we set up a
It's
Booster
kind of like
Club
having a
shopping.
board meeting, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, SIHAC, I would say, I guess,
Yeah.
it's probably.
School
Library board.
related.
so think of it that way. That's
Right.
library board.
Do they meet in the library?
Yeah.
Cause the
Booster
library's
Club?
still open.
Yeah, library board.
That's running everything.
Yeah,
together, so-
no.
Maybe if we think about like
Yeah, it's maybe
PTO,
have a list.
it's on a jolly holiday night, that brings in so many public people, I mean, you're not gonna have that event.
Yeah, that
Right.
probably,
That's
that's
a
probably
good
not
one.
happening.
Yeah, so, but just think of those events that they.
Have you talked about, spectators in the stands?
Yeah.
And is there going to be?
Yeah, how's that gonna work, like volleyball? Football, I can, I mean, you know, spray not
I mean, you just
outside,
see
but-
colleges, if colleges are gonna do that, then.
We've got a,
We-
So-
we've been working on it.
It's going in that return to play plan that I guess I mentioned for football, but the volleyball as well. At this point in time, we're still meeting. Our goal, I think they sent to you, is to get this to the public Friday, so we're meeting again tomorrow. I don't believe, as a conference, there's not going to be one, this is what our conference is doing because of the masks, because of a lot of things. We have 3 parochials in our conference, so it was just decided, and I was in favor of that, because here's the thing, football's district, so it wouldn't fall under conference. We have 6 varsity home volleyball games, and only 4 of those are conference, so 2, those people wouldn't fall into the conference anyway. So I said, how much time are we were already fighting about it, and basketball, I agree, but that buys us time to what we want to do. So volleyball, we're not limiting spectators. We're going to take cash in hand, 1 entrance. We're going to ask that the other spectators use the other entrance, but we're going to come back out into a mutual concession stand that will be prepackaged and
Can we?
drinks only.
Oh,
The only thing we haven't solid land on, or do we want to stripe off every others? I mean, we're going to have no problem we have Collins Maxwell, which I think we're still going to be fine. So do we want to rope off the first row and the third row and call it good? We are going to separate, most places are not having student sections per se. So that will be me working with the students, which will be day 2 of school, that we're not going to all go down there and jump in each other. Our mask policy is our mask policy. So we're going to ask all parents of our school and theirs to wear their masks in the school, pay our ticket takers with your mask on, go into the gym with your mask on. Then, if you can social distance at 6 feet or sitting with family members, you are fine to take your mask off. If you get up to go to the restroom or out to the concession stand, we ask that you put the mask back on. The state unions have said that's not the AD and administrator's responsibility to monitor that. So then I kind of chuckle in that we can have this policy, but I feel like we should probably be whoever's on duty talking about people coming in. But once they're in the gym, I'm not going to somebody and saying, you're not 6 feet away.
because who else is it that would monitor that? Who are they
They're
suggesting?
just
It's not
saying
them.
People
Then
should
who
be
is it?
responsible for
Say it
themselves.
again.
People should be
Oh.
responsible for their actions. That's what they're saying. So if you looked at the girls' softball, they were crazy on top of each other, and they had fans, and where the baseball was completely social distance. Boys union planned ahead, pulled seats. They just let these fans at the girls union jump in the stands and sit wherever they wanted. So I think if we do that to get them to the gym, I mean, it's the same thing. I'll monitor the kids' masks, but no AD or administrator said I don't feel comfortable saying, hey, you're not quite 6 feet. So that's the plan, Cole, in a nutshell for volleyball. we don't know whether we're gonna maybe, separate. I thought about a line down the student section and 3 lines just in that one to say, hey, let's go sit with family members, let's spread ourselves out. Because there's a couple volleyball games but that's just not the way we're gonna do business this year. It's not a great student body section, rah on it without some distance. Or masks up. So. Is there other things about return to play? We're gonna say the same thing out there. We're actually gonna have a line that says coming through just for our ticket takers. I mean, there's a lot of schools going to ordering online, but then that is a nightmare. So we're gonna ask for correct change, which is $5. If they could have correct change, it'd be great. We are gonna ask that you have a mask on in your car to pull up for our ticket takers out there to our 4 teams that'll come for football. Then we're gonna ask that the visitors try to park down towards the scoreboard and just use that side. And so I don't know if you knew, the Booster Club is doing concessions out there, minimal prepackaged soda, but they've contracted a taco truck to come in for actual hot food that they're from Newton, worked out well. They're giving us a percentage. I can't quite remember what that, giving the Booster Club back a percentage. But that's gonna get a little messy because depending on where they need to hook up, I think there's a lot of schools that are doing some sort of concession stand on the visitor side to keep them opposite, but I don't think we're there. So we're just, it's outside and gonna do the best we can. So is there anything else on those return? We have looked at so many schools return to play. I mean, you're probably seeing on the news, some of the big districts are going way tighter because they know what that's gonna look like if they don't. I mean, there's no cheerleaders on away, no bands.
Some are selling only parents, and you get like 4
Parents
tickets.
and 4 tickets away is gonna
That's
have 100 tickets total. I mean, that's not just CIML. There's 3A and 2A schools that are really minimizing. I just feel we're 8-man and small. We're just not gonna see those types of crowds.
Right.
Again, if we do, we may have to go back and rethink our policy, but if everybody's okay. I mean, I talked to Mikeland, she said, House and I worked the policy, bounce it off Jason and Angie. We're gonna share it with her before we send it to public. Once she's okay, we're sending it out Friday. So.
And we've shared on social media, the football team plays a scrimmage at Martinsville St. Mary's, and what's his name?
Max, who was here,
Siemens,
their AD.
Siemens, their
so
AD, and he sent us a very detailed.
We've stole some of that.
It was very well done, and so yeah, we put that on social media so people knew. And yeah, we're all all schools are stealing from each other, and I mean we're all just trying to figure this out as we go. No one's done it before.
My plan is to bounce it JMC K-12 and for everybody on JMC, then social media. So once we have it, I don't care if you have a 2nd grade. I mean, those people need to know what's happening when they come in our building, not for school, but for events and football, which happens. Football will be the Friday before school starts, our first one. Then volleyball is the Tuesday. We've been back 2 days, which at least helps me with the student body a little bit to talk to them, but we don't have assemblies, so everything's going to be Zoomed. Our first meeting with kids and me will be from my office, Zoomed into their classrooms.
Yeah, first day like none other. Hopefully like never again.
Right.
Okay, so back to that COVID-19 policy. We're okay adopting that along with the policy, which that wasn't one of the options, was to not allow any use of the school facilities by outside groups. And again, reiterate, this is through the end of this year right now.
End of the calendar year or the
End
district?
of the calendar year, isn't it? Through the December
I think through
31st.
December
31st.
31st.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
Subject
that
to change though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a question about Sundays. Rob, what was your question about Sunday?
Oh, sorry. So
No.
volleyball is looking to practice on Sunday. I know we have a no Sunday policy. I asked Julie if it's before schools, if it's not, if it only enacts once school starts, they want to practice this Sunday. I would recommend they get to. They lost a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the same. They've lost a lot. So, but I just
Well,
don't know.
even if we have a policy, the board can approve it, right? Well,
We can't. I just know they needed to because
During
it
the
wasn't
school
until
year.
during. So
Oh,
then I
okay.
can just tell her it's fine.
yeah, okay.
Okay, board policies for COVID-19. Back to
Back to
that.
that.
We can't just leave it.
So we had that, the other option of if they wanted to pay for somebody to come in and clean.
That's the other option we talked about, yeah.
Then you run into who that is and what they know
Other
to
people.
do.
Are they doing it to the standards that we need or want here in school? I think that's
We hope they would, but
right. Versus the-
Unfortunately, I don't see it working, sadly.
I mean, who's gonna
We're
come
gonna
here
have
and
this be 2021.
rec volleyball
I
day
mean,
Saturday?
They're gonna, how many, you're gonna have 100 people here.
And who's enforcing, is there a mask policy? Like, just because we as a district have a mask policy, if rec doesn't have a mask policy, are they gonna enforce our mask policy? Like, just so many questions.
So many things, yeah.
Not to mention the cleanup.
Not to mention the cleaning, but just, yeah. So then kids come here on rec and they can do whatever, but then when they come back on Monday for school, we have these very strict rules.
Yeah.
Not to say that rec wouldn't try and run
I
a
know.
tight ship, it's just,
Just an example, yeah.
just as an example.
Any more discussion? Do we have a motion to approve the COVID-19 policies as part of our board policies, which they will be in effect through December 31st of this year,
So moved.
which would include the non-use by outside groups of our facilities.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's approved to adopt those board policies for the COVID-19. And then next meeting, we will have the second reading of the 100s through 300s. So if the board has a chance to look through those between now and then, we can discuss it at that time. Okay, the next item is to approve the 2019-2020 Title I application process.
It's actually 2020-2021 application
Okay.
process. I think we decided we're gonna move that to next month. Because they've moved it over to CASA and I don't know if there's really anything that you need to approve at this point. What is it to? Okay. Let's just move on from.
Okay, do we have a motion to table the approval of the 2020-2021 Title I application process to next meeting? We have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, that's tabled until next meeting. The next item is facilities, grounds, and transportation. Looks like first thing is Johnson Controls Service Agreement.
It's just a renewal and added the new building.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had Jamie look over this Johnson Control Service Agreement, because if you remember, we were in a 3-year agreement and the first year's done and good and okay, but now we have this new building and we have a lot more units that need to have air filters put in that we didn't have before, because before we had the boiler heat and now we have the units. And so I just had Jamie take a look-see at it to make sure that they weren't out of control with their prices, and he said they were fine, they were right in line.
Every other week.
And then the Midwest Alarms Fire, that's a 5-year agreement.
And that includes the new building, and it's actually a really good price. It was, John, do I remember right? It's cheaper, and it was including all new stuff, and it was
Right.
the new building.
it was, quite a bit cheaper than Johnson Controls' initial bid, and then they figured out that there was somebody bidding against them, and they came down, but they were still higher, so. And we kind of decided that Johnson Controls, we don't want everything in one basket maybe, so.
And I actually looked at that to see what we paid Johnson Controls last year, because we had Johnson Controls for the existing building. And it was, I mean, within less than $100 of the same price for Johnson Controls, and we have all this
All the new
additional.
building. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. And the other thing, I guess, we could talk about under facilities is, was that last week, Julie, that Fulton got back to us, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I think we talked about it last board meeting, that they were gonna, once Johnson Controls, they have a way to check the flow in those units to see why some weren't heating. And I think they came up with 5 of those units where the pipes were actually plugged, or the units were plugged. I think most of it was in the library, in the front office here.
And then
maybe,
I believe the music room.
Yeah.
And then the ICN room here.
so,
And they did a bunch of work in our office.
Yeah, they're working on it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and the cost to do that was, I think, $11,000, so I okayed that. I mean, we talked about it before, and hope, still it's a lot less than what the initial thought was it
Yeah.
could have been,
Yeah.
so. And if they went ahead and acted on it, they could get it done before school started, so.
And it would have been cheaper having them do it while.
Right, they're already
here as opposed to-
mobilized
yeah,
on site
Yeah.
with the building project, so, yeah. So,
Rather than calling them back.
so I approve to go ahead and do that, so. So hopefully, once that's done and with proper maintenance of the system, we'll be good for a long time. Heating and cooling, we'll have rooms that are at the right temperature.
Was that plugged issue more of an issue with the heating, or was it both?
I think
too?
it was both.
Both.
It was,
But I mean,
Yeah.
heating,
it was, yeah.
No, I know, so I just
Oh.
what I
Yeah.
wondered though is,
yeah, so.
they'll do it before we would need to start using the heating?
Yeah, they're doing it
It'll
now.
be-
It's this
Oh,
week.
There were,
gotcha.
they had our office closed yesterday afternoon and then this morning, because they had our ceilings torn apart fixing that. And so I don't know where they flew to next, but
Gotcha.
they're done in our office already.
Gotcha.
Okay, Michael, did you have anything else under facilities and grounds?
Well, I mean,
Transportation?
we could talk about that. I was gonna talk about it in my superintendent report, just some of the big picture stuff. So I don't know if you want to talk about it here or if you want to talk
We
about
can
it
do
at
it, the
the end.
superintendent's
Okay.
report's fine. Next item on the agenda is open enrollment.
Got a couple. Do we talk about?
Yep, you go
I-
ahead and talk about it.
So Travis and Ginger Henderson for their child Josie to come to Baxter from East Marshall. And then Suzanne and Dylan Hofer for their children Levi and Macy from Newton. And they're trying to find a house in our district. And so this is just in case it doesn't happen before school starts. And she's in contact with Newton as well, like knowing that it's past the deadline. And then for Audrey and Zach Oliphant for their child Delaney in kindergarten to come to Baxter from Newton.
Anybody have any questions on those? Do we have a motion to approve the open enrollment in applications as presented?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Open enrollment in applications are approved as presented. Move on to personnel. Looks like we have a resignation of a coach. You want to talk about those, Michael?
Yeah, so Lisa Richardson has resigned as middle school track coach. I think she's taken another job, maybe not in Baxter. So I would approve that. And then for the contract, Mr. Folkerts as our head middle school volleyball coach, and then Mike Riddle as assistant high school volleyball, and then Mrs. Renee Aker as our drill team coach. We're so excited to have Renee on staff. I mean, so yeah, we're just really excited. So she'll do a fantastic job. And then a couple volunteer coaches. Joe McMiniman is going to volunteer as a football coach. And then Mr. Beeler is back again this year as a volunteer coach.
So would that give us 2 assistant volleyball coaches?
No.
Just one.
No, because one resigned. The one that we originally,
So
oh, go ahead, Rob.
last year was the first time that we went to a second. I would have liked to keep that. It was just a massive issue just to fill the head job with an
Yeah.
assistant. So I think that will be a numbers thing. If we have a good, I would come to the board and say, I would love to have that person. If it's the right person, I did want to hire it just to fill it with somebody. But now with the COVID idea, the baseball worked really well. So if anything gets canceled, so junior high sports or anything, we will steal those and move them up, even if it's just for COVID cleaning, helping with all that stuff. So if something would happen in junior high isn't going like the summer, we've already told those junior high coaches, you will have a job, just not with junior high.
I guess I thought we had, the volleyball was the person who was assistant last year and her daughter.
Her daughter resigned.
Oh, okay.
Her college classes got
Yeah,
changed.
so we
Oh,
actually accepted,
We approved
we
it, and
approved
then
her
once
and
I
like,
sent her the contract, and then she's like, no.
Oh,
it was
okay.
because of the stuff, and then she had a hybrid class at Iowa State and just couldn't make it once or
Yeah.
twice a week. I could-
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And then the joint AD, do you want me to talk through that or?
Let's cover what we got so
Okay,
far.
okay, and
we'll
then we'll go with that
hop
one
into
next.
that, yeah. So, okay, do we have a motion to approve the resignation of the middle school track coach?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Resignation's approved. And then do we have a motion to approve contracts for the head middle school volleyball coach, assistant high school volleyball coach, and then the drill dance team coach?
So
Do we have a second?
second.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Contracts are approved. And then do we have a motion to approve the volunteers? I guess they're both football. Represented. Second. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Volunteer positions are approved. Okay, and then we'll move into the joint position, admin AD.
So this position, and Rob and Jason chime in, but we're hoping, we kind of talked through it this summer, and then we've written up this proposal, if you click on that. This just kind of talks through some of the duties, but what we're really hoping to is to add that position, the AD position, in with an administrative position that we already have on staff. So in this case, we're gonna tie it in with Mr. Luther. So he'll be the principal / AD. And then like we talked about, we'll have some site managers. And so these site managers will help at events. They'll help supervise at events. And so this is really honestly our best guess of how this is gonna happen. It's our first year doing this. So we're gonna try it and see how it works as far as hours and duties. And so some of the buildings and grounds maintenance type things, we've hired Ed Schmidt and Pam had already hired Don Akins to help with some mowing. And so Ed and Don are just taking care of the complex and they're just running with it and they're doing a fantastic job. And so they were going to be lining the field and just really doing a lot of the athletics things out at the complex. And so then Mr. Luther has been doing a ton of work. And then Mr. Hasselbrink has been helping quite a bit. You know, Jason will help, I'll help, Josh might do some helping. So we're gonna try and keep it at more at the administrative level. Rob, chime in with what else?
We spent a lot of time on it today. I'm kind of worried about site managers because it doesn't take long to realize I've already secured Jason for the 4 varsity football games with the stipends. So we're trying to figure out how long things are. with football with Hass and I now, junior high volleyball, and what we've worked out is just an early site manager for like the JVR and JV, and then Hass or I are gonna come in and we split the varsity up, which is 6. But I mean, we went through, and just in the fall we did it today, $825 for site managers for football, and that's still me doing every junior high JV game, Hass and I not getting, I mean, a different stipend. I get worried because then there's 25 winter events. Hass and I'll do every track, and he's going to pick up the bulk of summer. So really it's these first 2 seasons, but we reached out to about 9 or 10 coaches or that would have some sort of that I feel comfortable can handle that. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but we're rolling with it. We'll try to figure it out the best we can, just to have somebody. I sent out site manager guidelines to everybody as well to say that if you would like to do one of these, here's what greet officials, sign all, everything that we know has to happen. So we're just, and then throw the return to play COVID.
Yeah,
Then
throw in a land tornado and.
I resigned twice and then said I would pay $5,000 out of my own pocket plus whatever you're paying the AD to just, but no, we'll get through it. I asked Hass, and Angie's been just
She's been
crazy
wonderful.
helping out the last 2 weeks with just everything online, concussions and physicals and return to play, and then just getting our schools involved, and then Arbiter. I mean, it's a love for all. Everybody better jump in. So that's what I know about site managers, and Eddie and Hass will work at a hourly rate. We're keeping track of him doing other stuff. So
we'll just kind of see this first year how it works. And
Yeah,
then,
that was my biggest thing when I looked at this and I was like, okay, Rob, I mean, this is a lot of stuff. And then so now that you gave the breakdown, I was like, surely they've got something somewhat figured out, because there's no way.
no, right now there's no way.
Right.
Michael
exactly.
knows.
It's
I
like,
think she's tired of reading my texts and my emails.
right.
But this, I'm hoping, is the anomaly because of all this COVID and
Right.
return to play.
Yeah.
Beyond just trying to find our way through it. If we didn't have that, we'd still be struggling a
it's
little bit.
still our first time.
Zach's
Right.
been
Yeah.
really, really helpful.
Mhm.
I actually said I'm a little I mean, I know I've been pulling from Jason right now, but I've also been, who's doing secondary administration? I mean, it's just,
And
I
we
got here
talked,
at
I mean,
6:30 or 11. I mean, it's just how we're doing it
Yeah.
right now. I'm hoping it's better once school starts.
and I can help with things. I mean, if he needs to hand off an evaluation to like a teacher evaluation, we will tag team this first year, and then we'll see how it works. And then just like those first few days of school, and then we figure out, okay, we sit down and think what worked with school and didn't work, what's working with the AD and not, and how do we make it better. And once we get through it this first time, it's just like anything. Once we do it once, then we'll know what to do next time. So this is just like I put in the note, like this is all like our best guess of how we're gonna do this, and we might amend the plan. But so far, I mean, I know Rob like drives me crazy, but he has been doing a fantastic job. I mean, he does. He sends me these
Who's
crazy
on the
texts.
Zoom that I've sworn you just said I drive you crazy? Just kidding.
Yeah. So love and hate them both all at the same time. So
The high maintenance child.
I have been. I know I have. And I say that every time. I get it. I get it.
he said, "You know what keeps me up at night?" I said, "You know what keeps me up at night? You quit texting me at 2 a.m. about some stupid game. I don't."
He texted me like early in the morning. He's like, "What are you doing up this early?" You're texting me.
It's just a test, really.
Okay, does the board have any questions on this proposal for the admin AD position? So the way I read it is the stipend or whatever will go, and then
Yeah.
they will pay the site managers based upon.
In theory, that's
Okay.
exactly it. So the whole amount will not go over the 19,020. So Rob and I will sit down and he'll say, okay, this is what I think we can do. And so he'll have a contract for an AD amount for a set amount. the difference between that and the 19,020 is what he gets to divvy up between the site managers and the groundskeeper and all that good stuff. So, but we are kind of trying to pinpoint what we think that'll look like. And then after the year's all done and over with, we'll go back and
Revisit.
just make sure that that's where it was or tweak it if we need to. That 17%, we talked about that quite a bit. I like the fact that we're taking it out of the salary schedule. It gives us a little more, leeway on how to move it, because when it's in the, master schedule, then everybody needs to have a vote about that. And so, and the 17%, I actually put out an email to other business managers to see where their ADs all fall. And it's really all over the board, but it's basically a percentage of an admin, the admin's salary. And it can go anywhere from 10 to about 17%. So we're on the high end of it from what I collected. So, but I think like we're in an abnormal,
I
a
would say that
weird
a lot of,
year.
I'm sorry,
That's
Julie,
good.
a lot of those ADs will do a lot segment, they're probably getting a little bit more into their pocket, but coaching football and then, it's just, track's gonna be, I'm happy after year one if somebody else wants to do it. I can already tell you in about 3 weeks, but we'll make it work. It's just, I'm already a little worried on a few things, but I just told Julie, let's just sit down
We'll
and
tweak it.
see what's going on. It's
Yeah.
not about now, yeah.
We just have to be really clear. So then once Rob's not that person anymore, we have to be really clear about, when we're hiring the admin, if it's a new person coming in, we're hiring a principal or whatever to, so that we're clear that, their job is at 75% admin and 25% AD or whatever the percentages are. It's you are an admin and then we add this or this AD to it.
Right.
So we're doing 125%.
Yeah, exactly.
170.
And do we want to do board approval of that proposal then?
I think we should.
Okay.
I
Board
think
have
what
any
you,
other
I think
questions or
what you want to approve is the
the
percentage.
17%?
Yeah, because that, everything below that could all fluctuate according to who that person is sitting in that chair, so. And then Rob as the AD.
Right.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's approved. Okay, the next item is the school improvement roundtable.
So this has gotten canceled in the last couple of years. And so I think last year we talked about, well, let's talk about it. We looked back at the minutes and said, well, next year let's talk about it and decide if this is something that we still want or has it run its course. So I don't care either way. I just wanted to know what you guys, how you're feeling about it, what you think about it. What's your thought?
It's usually in the spring,
February. Just that there's so much going
Yeah.
on.
Clint, you started it originally, so I guess I asked you
I-
what your
I just
thoughts
feel like
are.
there's so much other stuff going on.
It's digging up
Especially-
fire.
We've
Yeah,
implemented a
it's
lot of
not-
things over time, I think, that have kind of
Right.
taken place or supplemented what we did
Right.
here, so.
You can always bring it back.
Right.
If you feel that there's some discussions that need to be had that you're not getting in the monthlies or in the work sessions.
Okay, so if I'm reading people, we're okay with moving away from the round table. Somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's approved. Next item is superintendent's report. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm just looking, trying to see if there's anything I haven't talked about that we haven't talked through. So, yeah, we're getting all ready to come back with kids. And like we've talked through all this, we are just really preaching flexibility and grace over and over and over. Those are the words we're using. We're all just trying to do our best. Teachers, administrators, school board, superintendents, everybody. We're all just trying to do our best to get through this. None of us have ever done it before, and we're just, I don't think anyone has bad intentions. We're all just trying to do the best we can. So hopefully people understand that. We already talked about the building project, so kind of skip over that. So here's what I kind of want to talk about. These kind of go together a little bit. So like, as I said with, we had Pam come in and talk about some of the damage, and we're at, between $150,000 and $300,000 in damage out of the complex. And so, like earlier this last year, Rob had the meeting with the community, and we started talking through like, what is our future? What is our vision for out there? And we've talked some as an admin team that if we're gonna rebuild, that let's not just cobble something together, let's have a plan and let's have a vision of what is it that we want to do. So I talked with our attorneys and with Matthew Gillespie and Julie, and I said, so what's the process? Like, what do we do? Like, if we want to rebuild out there, how do we even start? And they said, we don't have to go back out and get a different architect if we don't want to. We don't have to hire we don't have to go through the whole competitive bidding process. And then with it being an emergency, I heard this today, we just have to send a letter to the AEA, and then they can approve us for like emergency repairs, and we don't even have to get competitive bidding.
SBRC, right? Not
Well, no, John said send it to AEA.
Oh.
So we can do some more checking on that, but, so anyway, and I asked about like, if we already have a relationship with Jason Cooper, could I contact Jason and just say, Jason, here's where we're at. We want to have a vision of what this could be. We know we need bathrooms. We know we need to rebuild the press boxes. We know there's all these things, but rather than us just putting back what we had, is there a better way to do it? So I don't know if that means we need to get some committees together, but I think it's time that, and I also visited with Jamie Roshlow about this, and he said, yeah, we're glad to help. Just talk to your board and see where they're at with it. So I just kind of wanted to see where everybody's at, because if we have this money to spend, it's certainly not going to be enough to cover everything we want. But is it enough I said to Jamie, like if we have 5 or 10 phases, what's phase 1? Is phase 1 building, a shed? Do we do something that we can put wrestling in? I mean, what is it that we need to do? So I just kind of want to get some conversation started about what you think about all that.
That's a good idea. I mean, I definitely think that we need to, obviously,
I think
we're just kind of basics out there.
we'll need several. I mean,
Right.
I don't want to build like a big, like multi-purpose building and then use it to store all the crap that was in the garage out there.
Right.
We need a garage yet to store the crap in my opinion. But after we get past that point, I mean, if there's excess money or whatever, to me, that would be a good starting point or starter thing. It's like, hey, we got $50,000 of, here's a start, or, have the community and athletic boosters or whatever kind of get into a fundraising deal like we did when we built that originally type deal. So have some pretty nice seed money. So the other thing I guess I want to think about is, and I don't know if it's usable or not, but with the city switching over to rural water, they're going to be probably selling that lot across from us that has the treatment plant in. And I think the plan is they're going to take all the equipment out of it, but the building they're going to let stand. It'll be a shell, and it's nothing special. It's a steel whatever. And maybe that's buildings where we store crap. I don't know. But that's something I guess to think about too. And that could be happening this fall or winter, because I think they're planning to switch to rural water here in the next couple of months. So just something to throw out there. Or
So do
to
you
me,
think
that would be,
that'd be
if, I don't know if you could add on to that building or something like that. Maybe that's where we have our wrestling practice or whatever. It's right across the street from the parking. So it's like, we got the parking area already. walk across the street and there you have a building, so.
Well, and we talked some about the, storage at the like under the complex, or even like if we were to build a big multi-purpose space that was like some sort of concession stand that serviced football and baseball and softball, then in the building we have now, could you store the stuff there? I mean, lots of options. So
So I was at the Booster Club meeting this week, what's tonight?
it's Wednesday.
Monday. And, you know, they started to prioritize in their eyes immediate needs. Bathrooms for baseball, softball, I can tell you my concern. So they were already talking about maybe some volunteer, people donate. I mean, but what we don't want is for them to build a baseball and softball restroom, and that's not part of the bigger plan, and
Right.
it's kind of a waste to, but that's, I mean, I would put wrestling one above that, because we've begun to talk about the gym. I mean, that's gonna come up in a hurry if we have winter seasons, especially wrestling. So can it happen in our building? Absolutely. For a year, I would be concerned if it will cause junior high to have to practice at 5 and 6 at night, which that's never ideal for junior high kids. Morning, I mean, we started, Zach and I pencil in what that would look like. I know I haven't seen it. I told Mike, I think Julie somebody told me that building up the old medical building is
Yeah, we were
upstairs.
going back and forth with
The
that.
number is crazy stupid right now from what they bought it a year or two ago. I think they're asking 50 more than they paid for in a year. But, you know, in a quick conversation with Jeff Shepley, you know, or that's something even for renting, or they would allow, I mean, the walls, because I said, I think it's really squared up into offices and stuff. We need a big space. And then, so of course that went back out for safety. I mean, for football, we're going to tell people your bus is your safety. That's what you're going to have to do. But long-term, without being out by the track even, I mean, I don't know if that shed that John's talking about 100%, because what we don't want is to build something and think we're storing crap in there. That isn't going to work. So that's my second bad word, sorry. And then that we, you know, where is wrestling? The concessions are a little bit of a frustration. That's on Boost. I mean, all this, I think, so I sent Michael and and maybe, I don't remember who I sent it to, all the things. So like even somebody, I couldn't tell you who talked about, I mean, now that we have that, is that a place we just want to, all schools just park buses outside? We're one of the few schools that park buses inside. So do we want to park buses out there? And now all of a sudden we have wrestling in a space right here as well. I mean, there's all those ideas I haven't even thought of, but until we put some brains together and money together, and we don't want to just jump at building a shed or jump at doing restrooms, so we kind of have a bigger plan of what this is.
That's why I think it's a good idea, having Jason and just come up with some plans.
Yeah, I think if you send him the list of things that we need in it, you know, shower rooms, you know,
Right.
locker rooms, whatever, you know, and we need a garage, and we need this.
Right,
we need
and this is what
then-
we have.
Yeah, and then put it together in phases, and
Right.
this is the most important that we need first.
Okay, well, I'll contact Jason Cooper and then maybe sit down with Jason and Rob and Haas and, you know, a couple people and just get the ball rolling, to just get started anyway.
Right.
And then I think people will, and I think too, also the community right now is in one of those like very pro-Baxter. I mean, it's been amazing, like we've said, like just watch people kind of rally around our community. So I think this is another really good opportunity to just get people excited about something special again. So if we, I mean, I think if Jason could just draw us something, I think people gravitate, so it's like, oh, they can see that like there's this tangible thing that we're trying to do. So I think that other than being just like this kind of idea, it's a lot harder to get people behind. But if they can see a picture of like, this is what we're going for. Even if they know, like right now we can only afford like this little corner of it and it's this huge thing, but at least it's something at the start. So, okay, I'll talk with him.
Did that group this spring ever kind of keep going, or just kind of?
So, yeah, it was actually really kind of it was a raw meeting that kind of went like, we're all on board, somebody better lead it. Well, everybody looks to the school to lead it, and I think we were in the middle of this right now, so it's like the last thing we want to do is get out in front of something else when I mean, there was 30 people there. Maybe a couple opposed, just worried that we may be putting money into something, but there's a lot of people around the Booster Club, Youth Rec right now, and I mean, I go in my mind, I know that was a monster, but it was 24 years ago. That's a long time ago for that money to be raised. And I'm not saying we're looking at something because of track, I mean, but there's, just to have the space is pretty big. We just want to use the space. So I think there's excitement, but I will be honest, I think at least a co-chairperson with school, I just don't see somebody in the community taking a hold of it, and but could possibly be arm in arm if the school was involved. I think fundraising is a definite possibility.
And Todd, you were on the email with Matt Gillespie.
Yeah, we have no money.
He said like there was like, we have a couple years before we can like roll anything over, and then we could go out for another bond. And then there's with was it Save or Pebble? Like one of them you have to, is it Pebble? That you have to get community approval?
Save.
So if you want to build something with your save dollars, if it's not attached to your school, you have to get voter approval at like 51% or 50+1. So that would be something we could go out and look at over time. We can't do that like tomorrow. We just need to get the
I think
building
for the
finished.
first 5 years, we're tied up.
Yeah, and what did we say? We're 2 years into our.
We just finished our first year, so we're just starting our second year.
Yeah. So we have a little time before we can like go out and bond for something. So, but that's, again, down the road, if that's the direction we want to go, we have options anyway. So, okay, but I'll talk with Jason Cooper.
But that is amazing, that actually was all
Right,
funds, it
Yeah.
was all,
all donations.
yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
The land and everything?
the whole thing was.
Yeah, Alan's donated the land.
The school bought the
Yeah,
land.
Oh,
We had the land, I mean.
right, but the whole
The track
track
and
and,
the concession.
yeah,
everything.
all that.
Well, we would certainly be open to if somebody wanted to donate to cover.
And the difference is, I think we have a lot of people on board that are construction, plumbing, I mean, whatever that big number is, I think you get a lot less with people like they did in
Sweat equity, yeah.
97 or,
Right.
yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we, I mean,
Like
they
donate
built,
the
yeah,
walls
they
and-
out there and built the whole
Yeah.
press box and.
Which, did we talk about that still standing just fine? We had the structural engineer come look at that. Okay. Looks,
That press box. What's on it?
and then, yeah, so then the last thing is just, once things settle down a bit more, it's probably time to start. We had, just at the end of the school year, we talked about, well, like right before spring break, we talked about readdressing our vision and mission and all of that. And then like everything happened and we haven't touched it. But then I said, maybe it was really a blessing because now we're bringing school back in a whole different way. So maybe it's time to really take a look at what does it look like? And it's time to send out that, 5-year survey or, needs assessment to the community and then work with SIAC and just really kind of just revisit those things that we haven't revisited in a while. And I do think school will look different. This is going to be a fundamental shift in the way people do things. So it's probably time to just take a look at like those we believes and our vision and our mission and what is it we want to do here. And then if we send out that needs survey, ask questions about, what do we want at our sports complex? What do we see as our school in 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And then just coincidentally or during, I don't know if it's coincidence or what, but I got an email from IASB just this week saying, reminding me that last year I had said, yeah, we need to do a needs survey, but we're not ready for it. We'll be ready next year. So the guy emailed me this week and said, hey, just so you know, remember we're going to do that needs survey. So I was like, well, let me talk to the school board and I'll get back to you. So as soon as I wanted to visit with you guys, but then IASB can help us with a survey and they can help us sort the data. And so I think it would be like just a really good time to just kind of send that out and just kind of start looking like forward, like what's our future vision look like. So if you guys are good with that, I'm going to contact them and get rolling. I think it's exciting. I mean, as much as like the doom and gloom we talked about before, like I do think this is an exciting time, and I'm really going to try and just sell this whole thing as much as it was horrible. it was also a blessing because now we have this little pot of seed money to start. And if we want to reimagine that complex, let's do it now, because otherwise we were going to be trying to just kind of Band-Aid things. And now we can start fresh with a new vision. So that's my sales pitch.
So I was just looking at that needs assessment that we send out every 3 years, and we're scheduled to do it in January of 21.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so it's perfect timing.
That was the only thing I was gonna say is, we've done a couple surveys to parents right now on the back to school deal, and I don't know.
Yeah, we might want
Don't
to.
want to confuse with, this other's kind of more of a long
Yeah, we
term.
might
So
sit-
if it's like in
generally,
January,
yeah.
that might be a good.
Yeah, because we usually look at it for our board work session,
Oh, perfect.
so.
Well, I'll start working with the ISD guy and just say, we want to send it out in January, so he'll probably be able to start kind of tailoring questions for how we want to do.
Anybody have any
How about that?
questions for Michael? Anybody have any thoughts, final comments?
Thanks for their hard work.
Yeah.
Same to you guys.
Think about mental health goes for you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
I had a response.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So much.
We have a second? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned.